Hello, hello. Welcome to the Story Darlings podcast. I'm Sandra.
I'm Tara.
And with us today is our friend Jessie. Welcome.
Bye.
We're so excited to have you back.
I'm so excited to be back.
Jess is like, I want to talk all the things Silver Flames, and now we're going to talk about everything Crescent City 3.
Yeah, I low-key want to be on every episode, so.
I know, it's so much fun. So you finished A House of Flame and Shadow, before all of us. Tara finished like a hot minute ago, just a little bit ago.
Are you doing okay, Tara? Are you processing?
I am. I finished it in 2 days, but I had shit happening, and so I couldn't get to it. So I was the person I really want to read this. I really want to read this. Everybody else is reading this. I can't look on anything yet. So I did it yesterday and today,
Beautiful.
Very quickly.
Beautiful. I rented an Airbnb.
I saw that. That was such a cool idea. Tell us about this.
Yeah. So here in Colorado, I live in a smaller area. So some friends and I rented an Airbnb and went to a midnight release party in Loveland and stayed up until 4 a.m. reading, and then I spent all day Tuesday reading. I took the day off from work and just went to town on it.
Retreat. So fun. I want to do that.
I want to do that too.
I'm like, how do we?
Why did we not plan this?
I know we didn't.
ACOTAR 6. The three of us can just do a plan.
We can meet halfway in Kansas, where there's absolutely nothing to do. So
yeah. And then there will be nothing and no one to harass us while we read. It'd be perfect.
Today, my kid came in at least 5 times. I'm like, I've got 10 minutes left on this book. Go away.
That was like me. Yeah, my son kept interrupting. Do we think we're getting ACOTAR 6 next year?
Oh, next year? I don't know. I know it's the one she's actively writing now, so I know it is next. But knowing SJM, it could be January of 2026 before we see it. So I hope we get it soon.
Oh, yes.
But because based on this book, I think it's going to be Asriel's story, and I think that it's going to pick up. I think that the prologue of ACOTAR 6 will be his point of view of the tunnels and all of the things that happen there. Ooh. So at least that's my hope. I mean, I made a lot of predictions for this book, and none of them were correct. So
everyone was giving predictions. Yes,
I saw a lot of predictions, and none of them were correct. So you weren't in that boat alone.
Before we get into spoilers of what happened, so just FYI, if you're tuning into this episode, previously we split each book into 2 episodes, but we're just going to do the whole House of Flame and Shadow in this one episode and talk about all of it. So what was everyone's thoughts on the read itself?
I mean, I liked it. Like I said, nothing I thought was going to happen happened, but I enjoyed the roller coaster that she put us on.
It was a roller coaster. I don't know if this is because I had COVID when I was trying to read, but it felt at times like such a slog to me. It was very similar to how I felt reading Wheel of Time, The Shadow Rising, because there's so many big moments happening and so many things that you're learning as far as the world building and just heritages and things like that. And I got so drained and burnt out reading it.
That's where I was at the beginning of this week, and I was like, okay, maybe it's just because I've worked all day and shit is blowing up at my house, something's going on. So I just waited until yesterday. But it was definitely a roller coaster because I found myself at times being like, okay, well, now where are we? Because it would switch between POVs very quickly, or where we were. It'd be okay, we're with Bryce, and then the very next page we're with Tharian, and I'm like, wait, when did Tharian get here?
Yeah, and she does tend to cut things off right when you're getting invested, which is something I'm glad you brought up Wheel of Time, Sandra, because I definitely feel that way. It is very similar. The vibe is very similar to Wheel of Time, where you're like, I don't care about this character at all. And then by the end of the point of view, you're like, well, okay, now I need to know what happens. And then they switch back and you're like, I don't care about this anymore. What are you doing?
Yes. So in that sense, it was kind of a slog for me, but it also didn't have as big of an emotional impact as like the first Crescent City book had to me. Like I cried my eyes out, and then Sky and Breath, I cried a lot too. Like this part didn't really get me until like the very, very end part in Bone Quarter, like ish, that scene.
Well, I didn't want to give away anything, but there weren't any big deaths early on either. Like that hits you hard, right?
There weren't very many big deaths at all in this book.
Yes.
I definitely thought, like, I thought Baxian was gonna go. Like,
Me too.
for sure.
Well, you start out like you left off the last book like just knowing somebody was gonna die. One of the three boys, right? You just knew it, and then you didn't get that tear jerker.
Yeah, Sarah's going soft on us, guys. Like,
I probably cried more in some of the bonus scenes than I did the book itself.
Oh, I did too.
Maybe we're talking about the same one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, okay, that's as much as I can talk without spoilers to it. So we can talk about the prologue. So House of Sky and Breath, we left off with Bryce popping into Prithian, meeting Asriel. He takes her to the house, and that was the cliffhanger of all cliffhangers that we had to wait almost 2 years for, something like that.
I did a reread of Sky and Breath, and I finished it at 2 a.m. Monday night. So, like, I had to wait to start Flame and Shadow until I finished that reread, and I even was like, I can't start this book right away. Because, like, the whole My Name is Rhysand thing just, like, had all of us so hyped, right? Like, do the whole thing. That's what we were waiting 2 years for. And I will say that the crossover felt like kind of a letdown in this book.
Okay. Okay, I'm not the only one, because I was like, wait, I want more.
Yeah. No, everyone was upset about it. We were like, I mean, everyone, especially like at the premiere and stuff, like everybody was like, Bryce is going to show Cassian how to eat chicken wings, and like they're going to have such a great time, and they're going to explain Sunball, and like everyone's going to have so much fun, and they're going to be best friends. And then they like put Bryce in the Hume City and like interrogated her, and then she like stole Truth Teller and dipped.
I wanted them to come back to like Crescent City and like, kick some major ass together. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, it blows my. I was like, how is Rhysand not like, we need to help these people? Like,
isn't it so interesting? Because I remember what everyone's take was on Nesta when we got her point of view about Rhysand. Like, a lot of people still hate Nesta because she has such a critical view of Rhysand. And then we have like kind of the same thing because we get Randall and Ember's perspective like in the bonus scene. And then we have like Bryce's take on him. And so it's interesting to see these outside people line up more with like Nesta's view of him.
He is very morally gray. Like, he would burn the earth down for Feyre, but I don't think he would burn the earth down for very like much else. Like
literally
Cassian
anyone else.
Yeah,
literally anyone else.
I think he would for Cassian and Asriel.
Yeah,
but like
true.
that's it.
And more and Amren.
Yeah,
like,
and Nyx now.
But. Yeah, his people. He protects his inner circle, but like everyone else.
Yeah.
Good luck to you.
I mean, even just missing out on those cozy scenes with the two worlds colliding, I was like looking forward to Rhysand and the Inner Circle just kind of bumbling about Lunathion, like having no fucking clue what's going on. Just a bunch of idiots like in a weird tech advanced city.
Like Nesta with the phone. Like when Nesta was like, what is this? You need to explain this to me. And then Bryce is like, I keep my music on it. And she's like, wait. What?
There's music?
Like all the music in the world.
You can listen to music on this?
She's like, you had me at music.
Mm-hmm. Like, we're best friends now.
They're going to start a band, just Asriel, Nesta, and Bryce, because they have that music in common, that thread. Az will be the singer.
Asriel's like music of choice cracked me up though, like in those like bonus chapters.
House of Flame and Shadow starts with Hind and Hammer meeting with the Asteri, and we're in Hind's perspective, which is so fun in a way because we've always seen like the very cold, brutal torturer, and now she's like freaking out about her man, Rune. And then we like fast forward to like Baxian and Hunt and Rune just getting tortured and all of the piercings being ripped out of Rune's face and eyebrow. Like I felt so bad. It was just chapter after chapter of them suffering. And I think that's what like burnt me out at first. I was like, is anything happy going to happen?
When the hand scene happened, I was like, oh, this is the kind of book we're reading. All right.
And he did it for nothing. He didn't even help.
Oh, man. It did. I mean, it endeared Baxian to Hunt.
Okay, so this is going to make me sound really, really creepy. So bear with me here. Let me get to the end, okay?
Brace
Because
yourselves.
the hand growing back was a little comical to me because I'm picturing it like the little like Saturday Night Live little hand like coming like out. And so like I had this I know this is not a funny scene, but like in my mind I'm like just picturing this little hand like little bitty fingers growing back out and stuff. And so like it was kind of comical to me, not but kind of.
Poor Rune.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
I'm like, he's just walking around with his little bitty hand or whatever. That is still like shades lighter because the skin is not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, his scars were his tattoos were very Aelin adjacent to me. Because I read Throne of Glass right before I did my Crescent City theory reread because I had never read it before. Sandra got a lot of my reactions to that series, which I finally listened to the episodes after I read the books. And Tara, how dare you call my man a man whore?
Adian?
No,
Dorian.
You were like, at the end of Crown of Midnight, you were like, all of these guys suck. Dorian's a man whore, and like Chaos the worst. And I'm like, I'm with you, except, excuse me, Dorian is everything that is good in the world. Like, no.
Really?
Yeah.
He's going around dating everything, okay?
Well.
So, like, that's kind of the definition of man whore. I did not say it's a bad thing. Just, like, he's not ideal mate qualities thing.
You said it was a bad thing and that you didn't want him with Selena. Also, you cannot say that about him when you love Lucifer.
I do. I just didn't want him with Selena. Okay?
Sorry, Tara. Like, I'm siding with Jesse here. Dorian is the goodest boy. Like, he bought her. Like,
He's a prince who bought her a puppy.
My take on him changed through the series when he grew up just a little bit, though. Like, and Lucifer, like, he has comedic value, but I would not have wanted, like, season 1 or 2 Lucifer with Chloe, right? Like, he had some growing up to do. But I adore him with Manon.
Spoiler alert. No, not really. If you haven't read the other series and you read Crescent City 3, that's your problem.
Yes. No, he needed a Manon in his life to like.
Yes, he did.
I do love him. Okay?
Yes, she loves him now.
I love him now. I just had very strong takes on the men in the series at the beginning because they did not seem to be like living up to what you wanted them to be.
I agree with all of your points on all of them except Dorian, because Dorian does nothing wrong ever.
Okay.
He's a prince, literally. Definition.
Literally the perfect man.
Anyways, so back to Bryce being in Prithian, where we did not get any cozy moments, you know, apart from like them talking about music and bonding over that it was below like Court of Nightmares, right? Like that's where they started. And then they ended up like under the prison through these weird little labyrinths.
They went through like a magic portal door.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or something.
That's right. It's like SJM took the realistic approach because if some rando dropped onto their planet with a weapon and all of this stuff, I mean, I would be a little suspicious too, but she really doubled down on that angle.
Well, especially after they just like went through something that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, my spidey senses would be like,
Tara's spidey senses.
Well, at the end of Sky and Breath, she like shows up and she's like begging them for help. You know, I feel like you wouldn't immediately be distrustful of someone who's literally crying and begging you for help. in my
Yeah.
opinion. If
Yeah.
I
if
would.
you're actually a good guy. Like,
I would.
Oh,
Like, I mean, have
well,
you not ever heard of how kids get kidnapped?
oh, jeez.
It's like the other kids begging for help, right? Like, I mean, I may watch too many murder shows, but like the person begging for help is usually the one that murders the people, right? Like the person who's like, I need to use the phone and gets in your house and like shoots you. Yeah, that's the
Wait.
person saying, I need to use the phone.
I suppose that's fair. But
Okay,
I
this is fantasy. Okay.
I'm the person who would let the kid in to use the phone and die. So
Oh,
I don't know. Do with that what you.
I'm not saying I wouldn't let them in still, but like I would probably be like, is this person gonna murder me?
I have no words. I love you, Tara. So, a first part of this book is called.
Sorry, we went off the rails a little bit.
We
So-
always do.
Yeah, it's fine. I can't even remember what the first part of this is called. Okay. So the first part of House of Flame and Shadow is called The Drop. And so essentially Bryce's plot line is just getting the fuck out of Prithian back to Hunt, right? So that's her goal. But
She wants to get information too.
yeah, she does
Yeah.
want to get
'Cause,
information.
like
and
her,
she gets
her starlight
time.
is like leading her down this little tunnels.
that reminded me of Silver Flames too. Like when the women go do the blood rite and they have their friendship bracelets like lighting up, to find each
Mhm.
other. That's what that reminded me of, her star
Well,
guiding.
Like Nesta mentions that she had a star tattooed on her too, and I don't remember that part.
Me either.
So, okay, good. Because I was like, did this actually happen? Or is this like new canon that she is putting in this one in like, preparation for book 6 coming out?
So I remember she had the deal with Cassian, and it made the 8-pointed star on her. But then when she called in her bargain, it disappeared. So I don't recall if she got a different one or like what. And granted, I didn't reread ACOTAR. I was going to reread Silver Flames and then ran out of time. But
This
I
is
don't
bad.
remember
we
that
like just
happening.
read it and we don't remember.
I don't remember.
Yes.
Like,
There were a lot of books.
There were a lot
There
of
were.
books.
There
I would
were.
have to go back and check that too
And-
because I don't remember.
And she is very good at sprinkling like little like foreshadowing and things like that. And there are so many of those. I'm like, I don't know
Yeah.
if she actually did this or if this is the foreshadow.
So many of them and tiny little things too that seem
Uh-huh.
inconsequential at the time. I mean, but speaking of Bryce learning so much, she gets
Mhm.
the whole backstory of Thea and her daughters and what happened to them. And then she comes to find out that she was born with one piece of the power, right? And then
Thea's.
Thea pretty much split the rest of her power up.
Mm-hmm.
And so then it
And-
becomes like Bryce acquiring those pieces.
So she gets Celine's in Perinthian. Wow, I can't talk. Perithian. No,
Prithian.
Perithian. Wow. Like my brain is fried at this point, guys.
I mean, it was a tense book, so
So she gets it there. Like she stands on the little like star,
Mhm.
right? And like the power like goes into her. That
And-
that scene was pretty great. And I'm glad that she did that before she like crumbled everything.
and Asriel was like, she looks exactly like Risa's sister. And I was like,
I want some Risa's sister backstory, hopefully, in the next book. There's so much mystery about her. This is when Bryce learns that her power is actually starfire, right? Like that's the word for it. And then they run into a few little Easter eggs, like the Middengard worm, which Tara, you were texting me about this too, because it was the same thing. I was like doing a vlog reading this book that'll hopefully I'll share like in a couple days, but I was geeking out about the Middengard worm and talking about that too. And that was a fun scene because we remember Feyre and
I
our
don't even
little
remember
illiterate
what I said
Feyre.
to you.
You're just like, ooh, the worm.
Okay.
That was basically it.
I find it amusing because like Nesta and Bryce are both like they're very Aelin like and they have like plans. Like and they're both in the middle of a plan that the other one doesn't know about. and like using them against each other. And it was hilarious to see like whose plan was coming out on top at any minute, because like Nesta tricked Bryce into thinking that like she was the one who collapsed the tunnels and it was actually Azrael in shadow form. And then Bryce is like luring them in to get eaten by the worm.
Mm-hmm.
And Nesta has no clue about that.
That whole thing was funny when it was revealed that Azrael was following along all the time and it was just this stage thing and Bryce just felt so duped. Did you guys catch the comment with Azrael's wingspan?
No.
I was like, is this a wink at readers?
Yeah, I bet it was.
SJM being cute. The comment was like, Bryce was observing Azrael's had his wings spread so wide, like they all touched like either side of the tunnel. Like, come on now. That's absurdity.
Okay. So there was also another one where like there was a point where he couldn't fly them because there wasn't enough space for his wingspan or something like that. I think that's the one I caught on to. But I did really appreciate Nesta being super pissed off after Bryce jumped into the water and she's like, we could have not gotten wet.
Serves her right for tricking Bryce.
Yeah, that whole adventure was just like them trying to out manipulate each other, and I was like, stop playing games and just become best friends already.
You guys have so much in common. Come on.
Yeah.
I think we will get a Bryce and Nesta best friends. I think that there will be like a long distance visiting.
Look, we're gonna jump way ahead here, but the Pegasuses are back, okay? So they're definitely going to become bestest friends because the Valkyries are going to need some of those. So
yes. Oh, yes.
Baxian's whole like phone call, like, oh, get over here now. I need help because he can't babysit all these baby Pegasuses. So cute.
And I loved like Hunt's reaction to that too, because she's like, Jelly Jubilees.
I know, she's
like, oh yeah, we're leaving right now. Like, I know.
Forget sex. We're gonna go see Pegasuses. We'll be there by dawn. Yeah. This is also where like Bryce figured out that her bloodline would be the heir to the like High Queen of Prythian, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that was like the huge reveal too.
Because I remember
I remember us talking about like in Silver Flames, like, oh, it'd be cool if like Nesta was, or maybe Elaine, or no, it's Miss Bryce.
If she goes back there. It's interesting because I'm trying to sit here. Like, I don't think that we've seen the last of Bryce in ACOTAR. But
you don't think so?
No, but will she give up her soap opera TV shows and her neon pink sneakers to go be High Queen when she doesn't even want to be queen in Crescent City?
I don't think she'll do that. I think
she's just retired.
Have to do without her shoes though. Like you don't think she can like transport a couple pairs of shoes over there like each time and like just start leaving clothes?
I mean, she could, but will she?
I think Ember's gonna get involved in that because we're jumping way forward, but we see Ember and Nesta forming a little bit of a bond too, a mother-daughter bond.
I know. I was so happy for Nesta.
Knowing Ember and like how taken she is with little Emil, I don't see her staying away from Nesta forever and ever. Like I see her like forming that bond further and Nesta getting a mother figure out of her. So I think Bryce is going to be like a sister bond with Nesta in the future, especially since Nesta made good on her promise to Nesta.
Well, are Nesta and Bryce the only ones that can travel back and forth?
So we don't even see Nesta travel back and forth. It says Bryce is the only one who can open a portal, and the whole fact. So at the end of part 1, I was like, that can't be all the Prythian we get, right? And in the back of my head, I was like, Nesta can use the harp in theory because it keeps seeing the harp, but she didn't. And I was like, what the hell? What's going on here? So I'm curious how that plays out.
Then they discover like the Asteri that's been buried underground in Prythian forever, Vesperus.
Yes.
a female, and Nesta gets to kill her.
I definitely thought she was the seventh sister and Apollyon didn't actually kill her, but it doesn't
Well-
sound like that's what it was.
No, because like they kept saying that they had sisters and like siblings or whatever locked in places.
Mhm.
So I think we will see them again because that one was locked in a place, right?
Mhm.
But I also think that Aelin may have locked in a few, right? And so I think we'll see more of the Asteri being unlocked and hopefully killed.
There were theories out there that the Asteria were also the Vogue, but I feel like based off this book, that's not the case.
No, I don't
Because-
think so.
The Asteria do like light stuff, whereas the Vogue were all shadows, right?
And they didn't really like steal the power of people. They
Yeah.
stole the essence
Yeah.
of the person. Like they did more like what the Underking and the Reapers did.
Yeah.
Ooh, interesting. I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion one way or another. It could be like the Illyrians and the Seraphims being loosely related, like different iterations. It could be something like that, like a very similar kind of race, alien race.
Well, it's just like we found out that the shapeshifters came from the Aelin Fae, whereas the
Mhm.
Fae came from the Akatar Fae.
That was
You're
such
not
a cool
even going to try and
reveal.
say the name that I just screwed up 10 times. I should have just said Akatar. That's a smart move there.
Can we? I mean, so Bryce does dupe them. She gets free, like portals out somewhere. We're assuming back to Hunt, but then she landed in her father's study, and I was like, oh, okay, she went there. But like, meanwhile, there's Therian being a dumbass, which he started being super stupid in book 2, and then it was just like Ethan and Therian sharing the award in this book. Just stop making it worse. Don't stop trying to fix it.
Hey,
Okay, I take offense to this, Sandra. Do
Me
not
too.
put Therian and Ethan together because
Yeah.
Ethan was doing it for the good.
Yes.
whereas Therian was doing it for himself.
well,
Like,
There was like one part when Ethan fucked up with Hypaxia, Sigrid, and I put the book down and I just like filmed a little bit and I was just like, I can't believe he just did that. And they're literally throwing out the idea of needing a Thunderbird now and like, hey, we should go raise Sophie now
I'm
and
like-
use her to fix what we just did with Sigrid.
I am
And I'm like, no, stop.
I am so glad that they did not find her because I'm like, you fucked up enough, okay? Let's just call it a day and stop. Let's regroup here, okay? Let's not just keep going down the same path.
I mean, I did feel bad for Ethan. Like, as much as I rag on the two of them, they were comic relief in this book that so needed it because there were such dark things happening the entire time and just such big reveals happening. Like, I did need that Therian and Ethan stupidity sprinkled in because I honestly was laughing out loud every time they did something.
I mean, he was being very stupid, but I think he was being stupid to I don't know, try and do some good. Whereas Therian, like at least in the last book and the beginning of this one, it was just to get himself out of trouble.
Yes.
It wasn't to like help everybody else too.
He's a coward ass.
He did change like halfway through this book though. Like he did like regroup and like, okay, like Ethan is trying to do it for other people. I need to help other people, you know?
Yeah. I mean, well, so Ethan's main goal this whole time is I want my brother to be okay, right?
Mhm.
And I want the wolves to be where they should be because Sabine is the wrong person. Amelie is the
Mhm.
wrong person.
And he cared about the people who couldn't help themselves, like the humans and stuff.
Yes. He did help do that. Hmm.
So yes, I feel like Jessie has something to say about the Therian and Ethan combo. She has like remained quiet, but with this look on her face, like, oh.
well, I don't know.
I bet
Sorry.
she likes Therian and just took offense at me calling him a dumbass
No.
too.
No, it was funny because like listening to you guys talk about House of Sky and Breath, I was like, I guess Therian was kind of an idiot this whole time. So like I'm not offended because you're right. It's just not something that I like was conscious of.
Because he's so funny. Like
I mean,
his
He's so
humor takes it
likable.
he's made
He's a likable character.
it's one of those things where it's like he made so many poor choices before the series started, right?
Mhm.
Like with the River Queen's daughter and with the River Queen, and like he just kept digging himself a hole deeper and deeper, and like was like, I'll deal with it later. like no, you gotta deal with it now, honey. And,
I mean, it takes like the whole book for him to finally suck it up and face it, though. I mean, at the end, he literally jumps ship away from the Ocean Queen when she specifically said, "You're not leaving."
I feel like that was the right call in that moment, though. Like at this
Yeah.
point, like by that point, I was like, Marion, you know who your queen is. You know that it's Bryce. Quit trying to play like you are gonna follow anyone else, because we all know that Bryce is your girl, and like not in like a
Legs.
love way. Yeah, like he belongs in Bryce's court. So
Yes.
he needed to just sit down and accept it, and like, you know, and I actually think Tharian is going to be the main character of the next book, because
I would like that.
I think the next book is going to be House of Many Waters. I've heard through the rumor mill that it's not going to be about Bryce and Hunt, so it makes sense. And there's so many lingering questions with Tharian and his new wife and his new brother-in-law and the dragon.
Mm-hmm.
I did appreciate Tharian's like, yeah, I screwed up
Yeah,
speech to the queen, like, and like she appreciated it too, obviously, because
like-
she was willing to help after that. But
like one word for you, Tharian: accountability.
yes,
Sathia's reaction when he's like, "I'll divorce her and marry your daughter," and Sathia just like turns to look at him. And it's just like, "Are you
excuse
fucking
the
kidding
fuck out of
me?"
mom.
Like, you think you're going to get rid of me that easily now? No, honey, no.
And then she ran off at the end to go after, the Viper Queen because her
Colin.
ex-boyfriend, Colin or whatever. And
But she gave him a heads up that she had to do it.
yeah.
She wrote him a note.
I think Tharian in that moment was just trying to like get help for the people who needed help. Like he's like, I will do anything. I don't think it was like him consciously like just throwing her away. It was him like, I need her to help, and whatever she tells me to do is what I'm going to do.
He was like, "This is my one task that Bryce told me I need to do is get the River Queen to accept refugees, and I'm going to do it."
I'm going to finally
Whatever I have to do.
Yeah, because Bryce was his queen the whole time.
Yes.
Just saying.
I did love when Bryce came in and she's like, well, he's my subject. I am Queen Bryce.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, he's mine, bitches. Back off.
That's
Yeah.
another thing that reminded me of Aelin, because Aelin would just
Mhm.
show up, make a appearance how she does, and Bryce totally did that on the depth charger.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so back to the beginning of the damn book.
Wait. No, because Ethan, so we talked about Tharian now, but Ethan was nothing like Tharian, in my opinion. Ethan's problem was we all knew that he needed to challenge Sabine and become Prime, and he spent the entire book running away from that responsibility because he was afraid to take it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, Tharian was running away from his accountability, Ethan was running away from his responsibility. So they're both dumb, but for different reasons. And Ethan's, I feel like it's a little bit more forgivable because he's just a baby. Like, he's younger than Bryce is, you know? Like, he doesn't want to be the
Poor
prime.
baby.
Like, so
No, I have a soft spot in my heart for Ethan. I love him, but he kept thinking that Sigrid would solve his problems and help everyone whenever it just needed to be him stepping up. the
we
whole
all
time.
thought Sigrid was going to solve all his problems, and then she didn't.
No. What do you make of Sigrid becoming the soul-sucking reaper?
I mean, she was always that, right? Like, we just didn't know it.
Ooh.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that.
Like,
I don't.
she was mean to him from the beginning. Like, we were all like, ooh, she she's gonna be his mate. And she was like, I don't deal with
We
little
did. We
mortals
totally.
like you. Like, you're beneath me.
She was mean to everybody.
Yeah.
Like literally everybody. And you let her get away with it because she just came out of this like millennia bath thing, and like that would suck, but
She clearly got over that so quick. Like, she immediately was like, I'm too good for you, and you're gonna answer my questions and get out of my way. And I'm like, Ethan should have killed her on
Bitch.
purpose, man.
Yeah, I'm sure if they're, next book, that'll have to be a little subplot that gets ironed out with her running around sucking souls out, even if there are like a couple bad people in there, like the astronomer.
Hypaxia is technically her queen now, right? So like Hypaxia
Yeah.
is gonna have to just get her in line.
and like, are there gonna be Reapers? Because with Hypaxia leading like in like no more second light and all of that at the end of the book, like, do we
Ooh.
need the Reapers? Like, are they gonna go back to hell
They might
and,
go
like,
get sent back to hell, yeah.
start re-sucking on the vampires or some other creatures down there or whatever?
That's a good point.
I think we're gonna get a lot more of that in the next book, especially if the book is like about Tharian. Like, Hypaxia is his best friend. She was his only friend for a little while. So I bet
Mhm.
we'll get a lot of that in there.
I adored Ethan making a new pack though.
I know.
Like with Tharian, like he refused to not go back for Tharian because they were a pack. And so Declan and Flynn were like, no, we're going for Ruin. Like, we don't care about Tharian. He made his own bed. Like, let him lie in it. Right? And Ethan's like, no, we're a pack. Like, we do not leave anybody behind. And I loved that because like Pax is a part of the pack now. That I did not mean that to be rhymey. But Hypaxia is, and like Bryce is like the queen or whatever. Like, and it was a pack of mixed houses, and I loved that.
Yeah.
And now very powerful people in the mixed houses
Mhm.
at the end of the book.
Yeah, there was such an interesting like thing that she just slid into the book of like almost looking at Tharian as like an addict. I mean, he was an addict by
Yes.
that point, but like when you have someone in your family who's an addict, there's so much where you're like, we can't help them until they want to help themselves. And so there are people who are just like, I'm not doing anything for you. And then there are people who are like, I can't help you until you help yourself, but I'm going to drag you out of that situation, kicking and screaming if I have to, and it's always so tough because like I can see the merits to both. And yet, personally, I lean towards the Ethan side of the spectrum over the Declan and Flynn side of the spectrum of like, you're going to hate yourself if you don't try everything you possibly can to save them and
Yes.
something happens to them.
That's what the inner circle did for Nesta, because they let her do it her way. And when it wasn't working, they did like pick her up kicking and screaming. So we mentioned Ariadne. How did you guys feel about the ending with Ariadne? Because I feel like there was so much buildup about her fire, whatever, being able to kill the Princess of Hell and like her being super powerful. And then it just like,
She
it
just
was not
disappears
used at all.
for half the book.
Yeah, I definitely thought the Viper Queen sold her to Jezebel or something and she was going to make a big grand appearance. But she didn't. She didn't make any sort of appearance until like the last 2 seconds of Tharian's POV where he's just like, hey, Ariadne. And then like, that was it.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm like, we're going to need more out of that.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
in the next
there's
book.
just so much buildup and nothing done. So I don't know if there will be conflict with like hell or anything like that, because this book felt so final with everything being put to rest,
There are like theories out there that Hunt turns like bad, which I hope are completely false. But like he is technically like made from hell, and so there might be a bringing back Ariadne for something to do with Hunt, since we did say bye to the rest of hell theoretically. That's just a way out there. Like, that's the only way I can see that we're visiting hell again is through Hunt.
I don't think Hunt's gonna go evil. I think at this point we can pretty much, with all guarantees, say he and Bryce are endgame, and they're riding off into the sunset on
little Pegasus.
Pegasus's, whatever. I'm never gonna get the plural right for that. And
don't get Sandra started on that because I think it should be Pegasi, but she has looked it up.
Even in this book, it's Pegasus's.
Okay, my bad.
So the Ariadne thing bugged me, and then I'm sure you guys saw circulating on social media how in A Court of War and Ruin there was like a throwaway line with someone talking about Lord Thanatos' daughter was causing trouble again.
Mm-hmm.
And then we meet Thanatos, who is a prince of hell in this book. So I was like thinking he was bad at first, but then his character kind of did a 180 and was helping Adis and Apollyon.
Mm-hmm.
And so maybe like if anything happens, like if someone gets power hungry, I guess it could be him, but I don't know. We also didn't get a good vibe from Apollyon when we met him, like when he went into Hunt's dreams or whatever. Like it seemed very sinister.
We also haven't met the other brothers.
Yes, that's true.
That all stayed back.
But as far as a daughter is concerned, like, I wonder if that's Fury.
Yeah.
Because we still don't know anything about Fury. And that was something that was a letdown for me with this book.
Yes.
I wanted more on Fury. Which it's hard to complain because she gave us so much.
She did.
We got so many reveals in this book. And if she is writing a fourth book, I'm like, okay, I can be patient. I can wait as long as it gets addressed eventually. But at the same time, I'm like, we waited 2 years already, Sarah. What are you doing?
And then Fury's role was like relegated to, kind of babysitting and just like, being a chauffeur, which was kind of like her role in the last book, taking Emil to Bryce's parents' house. It's just for how Fury is talked up, just being this badass assassin on the whole entire planet, she's not leveraged that way. And you'd think she'd be used more, but
I think Bryce is doing that for Juniper though, because where Fury goes, Juniper goes. True. And they kind of are like yin and yang in that. Like Fury is all darkness, but Juniper is all light. So you can't put Juniper in these bad situations,
True.
So the other thing that I lacked where Juniper and Fury were is the meat market got burned down. And we didn't have a take from Juniper on that at all when I was wanting Fury to burn it down for her.
Yes,
right?
Because you said something in the previous episode, that it came across as foreshadowing, right? When she was just I want to burn it down. And then she wasn't the one. And then we didn't even get her point of view when it happened in this book.
I'm like, where's Juniper's hot take about the meat market burning down? Does she even know? Where has she been?
Yeah, that is true.
I'm trying to decide there because they did burn it down literally, but I felt like Fury was more saying she got to take out the Viper Queen because that's what Juniper really wants. She doesn't want the meat market to burn. She wants the Viper Queen to burn. So my guess is, since
it's still coming,
Darian's wife is on this mission to get the Viper Queen, I bet you Fury's going to swoop in and do some assisting.
I hope so.
I just don't really understand what the Viper Queen's goal is, I guess. She's just always, just
she's
opportunity.
Yeah.
She's a snake. She's a literal snake, Sandra. Duh. Fathead.
Sure. Speaking of the Viper Queen, back to where we currently are actually in the book, in the reading.
Where are we in the reading?
Order. I don't... We see the Hinds show up at the Viper Queen where Darian and the whole group are, and she's like, you better be on the Death Charger in 2 days.
Look.
Okay? 2 days. I am putting some shit together and I need your help. You better be there.
The way the Hind commands and plans and just does the shit. We needed her character so much. What are you gonna say, Jess?
Lydia won this book, okay?
Yes.
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 Like, Lydia did what Bryce and Nesta didn't do, which was like, look, this is what's going on. This is what you need to do. All of the facts right here. And then she dips and she's like, hopefully they do it. And I just got to appreciate how she told Rune, she was like, if you come here, I'm not saving you. When they were night and day before he found out her identity. Like in the last book, she was like, you're making a mistake. I'm not going to save your butt ever. And then what does she do? She blows up literally everything so that she can save Rune. Like,
Well, and even after he was kind of an asshole to her, I was like, are you kidding me right now?
kind of, Tara? Kind
Like,
of?
he
Okay,
was-
no. He
I
was
wanted to punch him.
completely just such a sulky little boy. A big miss we got in this book was we'd missed the opportunity of Rune and Rhysand meeting, because I wanted the Spider-Man like pointing at each other scene, and they're like
Throw Kale in there.
both.
Because, like, boy, I got some trauma flashbacks to him being dumb with Selena. Like, oh no, I'm gonna like keep my loyalty over here, even though you've proven your loyalty.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, don't get me started on that. I can't ruin. I'm like, no. And I almost sent Sandra something, like, he is getting on my nerves right now, but Sandra loves Rune, so I didn't want, like,
I mean, he deserved it though. He was just being
Okay.
an emo brat boy. Like
I'm
a
gonna say I
spoiled
love
little-
Rune too, but you can only use your daddy issues as an excuse for so long, Rune.
Exactly.
Get your shit together.
Lydia, every character in this book, this series, Lydia has experienced the worst of it. Bryce never had to
Mhm.
sit there and see Hunt tortured. Lydia had to
Mhm.
sit there and see Rune tortured.
Without
Lydia had to
making
be
an
sexually
expression.
assaulted. Yeah, she had to be sexually
my
assaulted by
gosh.
Paul. That was like one of the roughest scenes.
Oh my gosh.
Him taking her.
Mm-hmm.
and then on top of that, we find out that the reason she's doing all of this is to protect her sons.
What a
Right?
drop. What a bomb that Sarah
I got
dropped
so
on us.
emotional.
And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this poor lady, like, she has had to do this so that, like, she can keep her kids alive and out of Pollux's hands.
Her sons are 15, right? Is that kind of the
Yes, they were
understanding? Because
15.
I got confused because she like ran to like the year 9 like room. So I was like, they're
Mhm.
9-year-olds, and then they were teenagers with all of their angst and stuff. And I was like, oh, ninth grade. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
My
But
heart was breaking for how Ace was treating her.
oh my
and it's
god.
like 15 is such a tough age. Like such a tough age. And for her to be treated like that and then to see how they were with their two dads, like, I felt for her. Like
Oh my
Lydia
gosh.
is just put through the ringer and she had to see every pain in this book. So yes, she gets the award for the book.
Did she remind you of, like, Lysandra, and
Yes.
especially with the way she, like, told him off at the, like, when he was like,
Mhm.
oh, now that I see that you have sons, like, magically it's all better and I want to be friends again. And she's like, go fuck yourself. Like,
I
my
mean-
story is not for you to change your mind about, like, how I
Yes.
am.
I mean, I see why she thought that, but I think it was clear to us as readers that Rune had changed his mind before he found out about her son. Like he was like he grabbed Tharian by the collar essentially and was like, "Go save her."
Yeah, but again, like, he had very KL vibes to me because, like, he thought that, but he still was, like, giving her, like, the cold shoulder, like, silent treatment. He was waiting there for when she woke up, but then, like, when they were searching and stuff, it was all cold shoulder.
Yeah, my opinion of Kale is vastly different from yours, Tara, after my second reread of the book. So,
No, I like him now. I'm talking, like, strictly in that, like,
It doesn't sound like it.
I am talking strictly in that, like, time frame where his loyalty was to the king. When
Yeah.
you know, like,
loyalty has always been to the king, King Dorian.
That is true. Like he's like, who can I be loyal to? That is royalty here.
It was the
My name
only
is Kale.
person who's ever loved me, Dorian.
Okay, but even with just the whole plot and main story, I think Lydia also won the bonus content for me too. Like it made me cry. I was sitting in the car like reading that scene and crying. It was beautiful. So
Her
beautiful.
and her planning.
I was like, this is the first SJM wedding we've seen. Like on page.
You don't count Nesta with her biscuit? Like
No.
No biscuits or soup.
And then her comment about like, I planned the whole attack on the spine. You don't think I could plan this?
Yeah.
Like, this is no big deal.
I was like, oh, say it, Lydia. She knows her worth.
Yeah.
Lydia,
favorite character.
you can tell Lydia is a distant cousin to Aelin. Like you can just feel it, and
They got that fire.
yeah, literally.
That was top. That was like a top 3 reveal as well, along with like Bryce being High Queen. Like Lost Heir was like that Brannon line. Loved it.
And the stag, like kept mentioning the stag, and I'm like, oh, like
I couldn't believe I didn't
like,
put that together. Like
I was putting it together, but I'm like, okay, what is this? Like, why are we drawing back to the stag? I was hoping that we'd get like a crossover with Aelin coming in. Like, I still wanted this all to be like the like end game in Avengers, right? And like you start opening up like the little like Doctor Strange opening up the portals and like all of them coming in. Like, I wanted all of them on the same battlefield.
I'm sure that that's still to come because I was reading online that like people were like, so wait, does that mean that Aelin is dead at this point? And I'm like, no, because at the end of Kingdom of Ash, she falls to the world and she sees Feyre and Rhys, and Feyre's pregnant. So like we know that Kingdom of Ash happened at the same time as Silver Flames, which was only a few months ago. So like I'm not surprised. I was almost going to be a little sad if Aelin showed up in this book because like she deserves a couple months to just breathe. You know?
She
like,
does.
After
you saved your own damn planet. Like, yeah.
She deserves some time. But I wouldn't be surprised if she either shows up in ACOTAR 6 or if SJM does like a full, because she said she's got 4 books that she's still working on. So I wouldn't be surprised if one of them was like a standalone all 3 worlds crossover type book. Because
the
cozy book we all want.
Yeah, like
no wars. They just get to bond.
Frost and Starlight, but like
literally a Frost and Starlight holiday special where all of our friends come together and like we get that Rune and Rhys like
they form a book club.
Dorian there, like, because I wouldn't be surprised if Dorian also looks like Rune and Rhys and like, you know, even though I don't think that there's a relation because Dorian's obviously from the Lydia side of the Fae heritage. There's the shifters, and that's going to be like the Lydia Fae, and then there's the Prithian that I'm going to call the bright side of the Fae because like really.
So now that you say that, like I was thinking of Aelin as an ancestor of Lydia, but Brannon is the ancestor, so they could be like cousins.
I think they're cousins.
Like,
I think
Dorian's their cousin. It's just a family reunion gonna happen, guys.
The best reunion ever.
Winter solstice.
Winter solstice in Crescent City, where Cassian's like, wait a minute, you guys like have someone here to set up your tree for you, or like they pre-cut your Christmas tree for you? Like what? Or like Cassian and Hunt are probably going to become BFFs, and I'm here for it. Because through the whole book series, I just wanted Hunt to get some friends, some like real friends.
But he did. Like he's a part of the pack, so like they're like him and Baxian are like this now.
Yeah, he got Baxian. But like,
and Isaiah is his friend.
Yeah, but Isaiah was barely in it. Like, Hunt didn't even tell him until the scene on the mountaintop. Like, you know.
And speaking of dodging your responsibility, right there. Like,
yeah.
Hunt is like, no, you're the leader of the angels. Like,
yeah,
it's on you.
True.
Have fun.
It's like,
Peace
look,
out.
I had like two thoughts when I was reading it because we just mentioned Frost and Starlight, and there was that weird shadow that was watching more, right?
Mhm.
And then we had the same thing that was watching Hunt when they were being tortured in the Crystal Palace, and it turned out to be Apollyon. And I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, if it's the same thing, because it definitely felt like the same kind of shadow entity or something. I'm like, why would it be watching Morgan?
Well, there's a lot we don't know about Morgan, but I definitely think that that's a possibility because it's clear that the princes of hell can go to these other worlds
Mhm.
without Bryce because they do. I still think it could be Bryaxis, but I wouldn't be surprised if we find out Bryaxis is one of the 7 princes
Ooh, yeah.
because nobody can really tell what Bryaxis is.
And we do have like 4 or something
There's
princess that we
7.
haven't met yet.
Yeah, there's 7 princes and we've only met the 3.
Yeah.
So
And didn't this book also confirm that the Underking was basically from Aelin's world, Aurelia?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think
Because
so.
he was like, yeah, the goddess is named Word, but she's known as Erd here.
From
It got
my-
lost in
my world.
translation.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, does that not automatically mean he's from Aelin's world? Because I'm trying to remember with the word keys where they were some ancient, powerful magic, but they might have been connected to Erewhon and the Valg, who also came from a completely different world into Aelin's
Mhm.
world. So it's possible that the Underking came from the Valg world.
Or even just a different world, because you know that the Vogue had very much like the Asteri been migrating from planets to like take
Because
over.
they were trying to find Maeve. Yep. And then they
Mhm.
decided to take over.
And so it could be even like another planet that just got like became a host.
Yeah.
But he's definitely like a being from another world that was very close. Yeah, when he said Erd was Word, I was like, oh.
Erd.
Like,
I'm like, okay, all of the cover art, everyone's like, who is on the cover of the books? Who's on? Like, maybe it's the goddess Word, and she looks
Maybe.
different, like slightly different to everyone. Like, they talked about that in the book, and she has like the symbols on her. Like, it's probably the goddess Word. I'm like, is she the same one as like the goddess of many faces? I don't know.
Maybe.
I mean, that would make sense if, yeah. So back to Ethan. Now we've like went down another rabbit hole. But back to Ethan. He
Thank you, SJM.
just got told, like the whole group, to be on the Death Charger in 2 days. And this is where the 3 little sprites, I love them to death.
Oh my
Like,
gosh.
I want more little sprites.
Yeah.
Burn down the meat market because they're pissed off at her. Like they're so fiery in more ways than one. It's hilarious.
Didn't they do it in defense of Therian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because
They were mad at her for doing that to Therian.
Yeah.
And so they were like, for like basically capturing him.
yeah, well, because if anything's gonna trigger the fire sprites, it's being kept in a cage, right? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And then Ethan's like going towards this Death Charger, and then he turns back and he goes back to find Sigrid.
yeah, no, okay. That's the second time that he's dipped out on a mission for this girl. Who's literally the soul sucker of the universe. Like, honestly, I didn't feel this strongly about her until we started talking about it, but like, I don't like her. Like, she did so many bad things to Ethan, and I'm just like, stop. All he was trying to do was help you. Like, I almost wonder if she was just like annoyed at him for trying to take her out of the tank because the astronomer was like, they like it in there, they want to be there, and she was like, leave me here, and he didn't.
I don't
Ooh.
get that vibe because she kills the astronomer.
Well,
like she
yeah.
sucks his soul. Like she obviously didn't like him.
Because he kept torturing her, but that doesn't necessarily mean that she wanted to not be an oracle anymore. She just didn't want to be his oracle anymore.
His mystic.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I got those words confused.
Is Elaine the same thing as these mystics, but like a functioning one?
I think she's
You think she's an actual oracle?
Yeah. I could see that.
Hmm.
She's definitely got futuristic magic because the oracles can see the future, the mystics can see through worlds. So Elaine definitely sees the future. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were connected and she could do
Mhm.
both.
Yeah. Because it does seem like she can see like different dimensions of the future. And then we get the whole spine blow up.
Yeah.
Lydia freeing Rune, Hunt, and Baxian. And she does that with the help of Erithis, the queen
The
of the
queen.
sprites. And she kind of does a little like trial run with her prior to that to test her and
To test her
how
honor.
loyal she is.
Mhm.
And she refuses to like hurt
The woman
old hag.
Yeah, the woman who like enslaved her, she refused because she was in chains. So as soon as she wasn't in chains anymore, she lit her up.
Yeah. And I love that for
Yeah.
her. But so she helps to make it all make sense or to like look legit. Like she has her burn her ahead of time. Like when she lights up the old hag, she has her burn like Lydia does.
Yeah, and she's
so
like,
she's
it's gonna hurt. And Lydia's like, if it doesn't hurt, it won't be believable.
And then she goes and blows up some additional things. I love it.
I mean, the fact that Lydia orchestrated all of that and then just like shoots, what was it, the hawk and some dreadwolves in the elevator, and then it's like this high adrenaline car chase through the city, like they're going through checkpoints and all of this stuff. I was so scared for Hind. I didn't think the SGM would kill her off, but then like they talked about her having her heart blown out and going over. I was like, if Therian can reach her, she'll be alive. But like that part had me so uptight and scared for her.
It does say she died.
Yes, and flatlined.
And I wonder if that is going to come back in the future, like to be like, I don't know. I'm thinking Buffy right now, like when Buffy died, and that created like.
Wow, Sarah! Spoiler alert.
If you have not watched Buffy from 20 years ago, like you deserve it.
Not done.
Sandra's only on like what, season 2 at this point?
Hey, you deserve it. Like, I'm sorry.
You're talking about when Buffy died and Kendra came back, Kendra was called, right?
Well, and that also like happens with Elijah Dushku's character.
Yeah, because then Kendra dies and Faith is brought up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know shit about Buffy, but I will say I do know SJM is a Buffy fan.
Is she?
That
doesn't
surprise me. She's got good taste.
And so I'm wondering if that was like a little like foreshadowing that something like that caused something that she died in that moment.
Maybe. I mean, Bryce technically died in the first book, and Hunt like used his lightning to like jumpstart her heart.
But did she actually die? Because like, I mean, you can jumpstart somebody's heart.
She died as much as Buffy did in season 1.
I thought Bryce died.
But it didn't say she died in the book.
Medically, she died.
It implied heavily that she died. But in this book, it says
she for real died in this book.
Yeah.
But
that whole
she's
scene,
still alive on the other side.
Her soul is alive, but she's medically dead.
Yes, but it still didn't say she died in the book.
Tara.
Right?
She died.
I know she died, but I'm saying like there's a difference in how Sarah is doing these. Like she is like implying heavily that they're still alive.
Okay.
Right? And there's still a chance of saving them. But in that chapter, she said she's dead.
I don't think Lydia died.
But it says she died.
Does
like
it?
At the end of that chapter, she says, and Lydia died.
I thought she said, and Lydia prepared to die, or welcome to death, or something like that.
I walked away from that chapter with it being like set in stone that Lydia had died, and I was about to freak the fuck out.
I'm fairly certain the chapter says, and Lydia died.
Because that's when they start talking about like, they've been hinting that Hunt's power can resurrect people and stuff, and so they start teasing
but it's
about
not
like
the same.
No. And They did say that she died, and then when they brought her back, she flatlined twice more.
And those
Before.
like are not what I'm counting as her dying. I'm counting like just where SJM says the words "she died," because nowhere else has it said a person has died and then they come back as like a normal person, because like the harpy comes back, but she's not normal. I just think that that is SJM setting us up for something. Like I think that that's important.
I just don't know what the goal of that would be.
I don't know either.
Because I feel like Lydia's story, like she has her sons, they're protected. Pollux is dead. I don't even remember how Pollux died. That's bad.
Lydia killed him, I thought.
So we've talked about Ethan and facing up and taking responsibility and stuff, but there was also the part I put the book down when Sabine's face got blown off. I was like, oh my God.
It's like,
I
is
was
that
like-
the end of Sabine? Because I will not be upset if that's her end. Like,
No.
It was so abrupt. I almost, like, for a heartbeat, she had me there. And then, you know, they talk about how, oh, she's already coming back to life, just knitting together, however they do, healing. It's like, okay, never mind.
it does say Lydia let out a choked, bloodied laugh as she died. So I
Ooh.
guess technically she died. But look, I don't know. She doesn't have like chosen one powers to pass down to the next generation. So I don't know if it's going to be
She's my
we've
chosen one
seen
in this
yet.
book, but
That's true.
yeah.
I mean, she does have the same kind of like. I mean, if Aelin died, would her powers transfer to somebody? You know, like
I feel like there's something. If it's like a line of the witches, because she technically, after like Hypaxia got it taken away, like she was technically the rightful heir to the queen. Like she was the oldest daughter, right?
that's true.
Oh, that's-
And the one that everybody was wanting to set up as the rightful queen to the like.
but
the
they
witches.
gave up on that pretty quickly because her mother's coven like put somebody
her
else
out.
completely, like someone not of their bloodline in place instead.
Yeah.
But maybe with all of this shakeup, like we'll get more of the witches too, like Tharian's best friend.
Quick question for you. Do you think that these witches are related to the Throne of Glass witches?
Yeah, 100%. The hag reminded me of Baba Yellowlegs.
The Med witches are very much like Irene.
Croaken witches.
Yeah.
We got both. We kind of got like some Iron Teeth stuff from like the hag, and then we got, you know, the Croaken stuff from Hypaxia.
And
Okay.
didn't even the hag have a story that like very much related her to
Very similar. Yeah.
the like Throne of Glass witches? Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't know. I don't have a theory of what it was, but like it just stuck in my head that this is the first time Sarah J. Maas has said somebody died, and then the very next spot they're back alive as their normal self.
I don't know that I agree with you. She kills off a lot of people and then brings them back.
You're talking about like literally says on page they
The
dead.
words "they died."
From what I remember, I would agree with that from what I remember from reading.
Rhysand
all
was
of them
dead,
again.
dead. And Feyre was dead, dead. And Aaron was dead-ish, dead. I don't know if she specifically said Aaron was dead. Or
No,
if she
they
said
talked
Aaron was
about
gone.
Aaron going to the place where all the dead people go. And then they
Mhm.
saw her and were like, hey, let's come back. And so Aaron comes back.
But she went to the place.
Yeah. Which is why Bryce at the end of the book didn't do anything for me, because I knew it was going to be a Rhysand type of thing, you know?
Yeah. It's almost like I wonder if SJM used it as just a shock device, because there's only so many times that you can like kill off people and then have some kind of roundabout way of bringing them back to life, you know? And so
But then she did that again with Bryce, like literally a couple chapters
I know,
later.
I know, but like that's just an SJM thing at this point, right? And I don't know if you guys are like Final Fantasy fans. Like I know your husband's a gamer too, Jesse. I don't know if he's like big into Final Fantasy, but that rescue scene where she is floating through space, running out of oxygen, and Hunt goes in the suit to like go retrieve her, reminded me of Final Fantasy VIII when like Squall's like going after Rinoa.
He is not a Final Fantasy fan, but we actually have like friends who are huge Final Fantasy like nerds. So I'm actually
They should read these.
Yeah, they are. They have A Court of Thorns and Roses, and I'm like, hurry up, guys! But they are not
Didn't make
hurrying
it.
up. So
So I will say this, Tara. The one unresolved thing that I could see about Lydia is they made some weird vibe between her and the Ocean Queen. The Ocean Queen was
Mhm.
basically like, "Yeah, you're good for now," but like I got the take
Dude.
that she could come summon her to her, do a job for her at any
Maybe
time.
her dying is what got rid of the like oath to the queen or something.
That would be cool if it worked out that way, but
we all know the Ocean Queen's going to be the big bad in the next book, right? Like, we can all
we think
agree
so.
that that's going to be a thing.
I thought it would be the River Queen because she seemed more like evilly.
But then she like was very reasonable at the end. Yeah.
I honestly think the River Queen was trying to get Tharian to break off his engagement, and that's why she was such a bitch to him the whole time.
She's like,
So
"Do
she
you
was
really
like,
want me
"You
as your
don't-"
mother-in-law?"
She was like, "You don't want my daughter, and I'm not gonna like let this happen," because he kept being like, "I wonder how long the River Queen's gonna like let me get away with not marrying her daughter, and like how long she's gonna allow me my freedom and stuff." And I think the River Queen was like, "Bitch, you don't want this. Like, break off this engagement. Like, what are you doing? You know?" So
I mean, at the end of the day, the River Queen loves her daughter and she wants her daughter to be happy, and she knew Tharian wasn't going to make her happy.
exactly.
He treated her like garbage, left her at that ball to go sleep with the leopard shifter. Remember, Tara?
Yeah.
No, Tharian, we love your idiocy sometimes. The Ocean Queen, you get the sense that they lost a lot with these underwater cities and things that have fallen to ruin, and she wants to restore her realm to like its former power and glory.
But also, the Ocean Queen definitely just wants more power. She wants power the way that Tharian thought the River Queen wanted power. Whereas the River Queen was like, "No, I just wanted to take care of Emil and make sure he was okay." Like, didn't she
Yeah.
have that heart to heart with Tharian
Mhm.
at the end? And like
Yeah.
the River Queen was like, we're gonna protect anybody who can make it down here. I'm gonna send my people up there, because at the end of the day, like the River Queen had the compassion for the humans and
Mhm.
the lesser beings, air quotes around lesser.
Yeah.
For anyone listening. Whereas the Ocean Queen straight up was like, "You can't give me anything. I'm not gonna help you."
So there was a lot of theories and a lot made out of like a couple of comments about the waterways leading to
Mhm.
other worlds, and we saw none of that. So I wonder
True.
if that's going to be a big point, and maybe how we get like our worlds combining is through the rivers and through like the Ocean Queen trying to take over worlds, like becoming like the Volg and like whatever, using the waterways to get to other worlds and take them over and get power.
I was telling Tara, I think in the previous episode, that I hope that we see the book that Cassian threw into the river again, because all
Mhm.
of the waterways lead somewhere. So I hope that's an Easter egg. But like also on the reread of Throne of Glass that we did last year, in Crown and Midnight, there was that pickup line when Baba Yellowlegs was talking about the water leading to other worlds and stuff too. So I'm like, I really
Mhm.
hope that we get that in Many Waters, because it'll be so much fun. And
Wow.
so,
And Many Waters is the book to do it, right? Like,
yes, hell
Yes.
yes.
I agree with you on that. I think that's going to be,
Ooh.
and that would make sense that the Queen of the Ocean is like the big bad.
And I mean, we had absolutely no closure about Victoria being locked in her box at the bottom of the trench.
I know. I
So-
wanted her. Like, I was like, "Excuse me, why is no one
poor-
digging her up? Micah's dead. Like, what are you doing?" Like,
Maybe the Ocean Queen has already and hasn't
I
told anyone.
hope
She's so
so.
secretive about everything, like even her little submarines and shit, her little
I-
Octonaut ships, as Tara calls them.
hope so. I hope Lydia dropped a diamond, like a little thing in Victoria's box somehow. Like, I know Lydia wasn't even there, but maybe she was she there though? No.
I don't think so. Not yet, because she showed up after Micah died because Celestina.
Yeah, but Sandriel showed up.
Oh, yeah.
But was it? Does she not
Can't
bring
remember.
this in? I don't remember. I
Like-
just read that book and I can't
But
remember if
I think she was there actually, because isn't that when the summit happens too?
yeah.
And she was there to meet with Ruin as Daybright, right? During that little dance during the summit.
No, I think that was during the mating with Ephraim, which was
Oh,
different
That's
than
the
the
ball.
summit.
So that was later.
Like, I don't think we got to meet Sandriel's entourage during the summit, but I don't remember if it's because she didn't bring them or if it's because they were just off screen
Well, I
the
know
whole time.
Pollux was there.
Was he?
Yeah, because that's when Hunt got in trouble the first time because him and Pollux
Oh, you're right.
had words.
Little fisticuffs.
Well, I don't think that they had fisticuffs that time. I think that they just had words
Yeah. Yeah,
at the
because
summit.
because
They
Sandriel
started
gave
decking each other.
yeah, because Micah gave Hunt to Sandriel and Pollux was there to help transport him. That's right.
Mhm.
So and at that point in time, I do think that maybe there was a part where he was like, if the hammer's here, the hen's not too far away or something like that. Because at that point in time, they were both part of Sandriel's Triari, and like, so maybe she was there. Maybe she slipped a little. I mean, I don't know why she would do that for Victoria if Victoria wasn't part of Othean, but I can hope, like.
Well, but Victoria was part of Opium, right? Because she was trying to buy this.
No, they were just they were a different rebellion, not the Ophian one, but they were part of the greater rebellion. Like they
But
were just trying to get freedom.
maybe Lydia was like, we could probably turn her to Othean if I like do this. I don't know.
Or, I mean, like, quite frankly, I don't think Lydia was really that like invested in the Ophium necessarily as she was in the rebellion.
You're right, she wasn't, but I don't think she went above and beyond for anyone unless it directly affected her boys.
I'm just saying, like, I think maybe she would have like dropped it in just to like try to save a life, because she mentioned that in this book, as she tried to save the lives where she could.
Yeah.
And that's why she kept dropping the markers in, like, to save Sophie and stuff, is to like get like a tick off where she had to kill somebody.
SJM, write this book so we can know for sure.
Maybe the next book's all about Victoria.
It's going to be Victoria and Lydia.
Or Victoria's the bad guy.
Ooh.
Because
I would feel bad for her. Yeah, I would feel really bad for her.
What?
So, speaking of mysterious people, Jessica.
Oh my god!
Like,
what
we
a reveal!
Find out who and what Jessica is.
What a reveal!
And she is one of the ancient priestesses.
Of course, Ethan gets the answer out of her.
Yeah, Apollyon.
Who got cursed by Apollyon.
Yeah, he was like, you seem sus. And she's like, this is what I'm doing. And he's like, I don't believe you. Here's immortality. And she's like, okay.
I'll just protect these books forever then.
Yeah.
That part made me tear up at the end.
Oh my gosh, right? I definitely cried.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know that I'd consider that like a big character death, because it wasn't painful. In a lot of ways, it was like a relief for her to go.
Yeah, I think she was happy, and she'd already planned it out. Like, she was like,
it was so funny that she was having
my master plan.
It was so funny that she was having Ethan pack all this shit like for Bryce, like preparing for it to turn everything over to Bryce. I mean, she made Bryce a very wealthy woman, leaving everything to her.
Bryce was like, I didn't even know you cared about me. And she was like, of course I care about you. It's just so hard to go
on. Well, everybody was like that. Everybody's like, did you actually care about Bryce? Like, I think Ethan said that too. Like, wait a minute. You don't.
That was a good reveal for sure. I also loved when Ethan gutted Sabine with a piece of Danica's sword. Because finally that stuff got put to rest, right? And then he had all the wolves howling, and then he thought he heard Connor and the Bone Porter howling, like in honor. Yes. Like, I was just like, every little Connor thing was just like, oh, I didn't know I needed this, but it made me so emotional. But I was glad that he got that time.
Well, and we actually got closure from like chapter 5 of book 1. Right? Like a full closure.
Tara was so mad. Tara was so mad at me. Like, have fun with chapter 5.
I was
like, oh, it's going to be a spicy scene with Connor.
And
she's like, instead I got pulp.
I was a bit mad.
Okay, so before I did my reread, I like went onto my Instagram and I have like a highlight of my reactions, because I did like reaction posts. And I was like, I hope Connor doesn't die. Oops.
silly lady.
30 seconds later, damn it.
Like, I was like, I feel like Danica's gonna die. I don't see a lot of people talk about her, but I hope Connor lives, even though I know she doesn't end up with him. Oops.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Yeah, so that was like finally closure for that coming through.
Hold on, no. Because we've talked about a lot of characters, but I have one character I'd really like to discuss.
Ooh.
My first thought is, why is he called the Autumn King? Because we don't get a spring, summer, or winter king in this world. So, like, what's up with that? Clear that he's not related to Lucian. He's related to Rhysand.
Wasn't there something about Thea talking in other Fae to come through to Midgard, like with her? It wasn't just people of Duskcourt, right?
Right.
So I'm like, what if it was something like that?
And is he the one related to Rhys, or is Rune's mother the one related to Rhys?
Well, I would think that it was him if Celine looked exactly like Rhys's sister, and Bryce got Thea's powder. The only connection she and Rune have is through their father. So their father would have been from that line, like Thea's descendants line.
Well, I don't like him being a part
I
of
don't
that
either.
line, like-
But like, and it's so weird because I had this unhinged theory. And it was like not a real theory. I was gonna be floored if it was real, but I was like, what if the Autumn King is Eris? Because he kind of gave off those so evil vibes for a while. And I was like, he's secretly a good guy.
My heart was broken with how this father stuff turned out. Like
Yeah.
I kept wanting a redemption, and you thought you were getting little tastes of that, especially when he was showing how jealous he was of Randall and them making a happy family. Like he knew he could have done better.
Well,
And
and he
then-
and Bryce have that heart to heart, like, and he tells her he wants to be a better father. And then he like throws a fit because she locked him in a closet and like decided to not do that. And I was like, I guess he's not a good guy. It was so funny because I told my friends that I went to the Airbnb with, I was like, I kind of like the Autumn King. I think maybe he's so evil. And my friend was
he's
like,
just real evil.
my friend was like, if you weren't married to your husband, I'd be so worried about your dating choices because you run towards red flags. And I was like, you're not wrong because I love Tamlin too, you know.
Uh-huh.
But
Yep.
You're like the I saw a meme and it's like, did you not see the red flags? And the person's like, I thought it was a carnival.
well, and it's so funny because I told my husband that she said that, and he was like, well, yeah, because of Shadow and Bone, like.
There's still hope for the Darkling.
It's like,
Okay, I'm sorry, I ran to the Darkling too, so I guess I'm like red flag happy.
don't
Benny
we
Barnes.
all love him? Like, he
Yes.
was just misunderstood the whole time.
Yeah, he was tragic villain. Yeah.
So
Well, and if he wasn't so hot, I might not have ran as fast.
Shadow
right?
Daddies.
Like-
I mean, the Autumn King was not hot, but I definitely was hoping that like he would, you know,
Yeah.
come through the way Daddy Archeron came through, and the way Gavriel came through for Adient. Like
Yeah.
Sarah J. Maas knows how to punch me in the daddy issues, and she didn't do that this time. And I'm like, why?
Okay, Sandra, if you do not title this episode "Punch Me in the Daddy Issues," like you're missing it.
Okay. Punch me in the daddy issues. Got it. I mean, yes, heartbroken over how that played out because I just wanted something more. But back to your original thing, I don't know why they call him the Autumn King. It's very weird.
Like, I know he's got firepower, and I know like
Mhm.
Lucian has firepower, and so I thought that there was going to be some sort of connection there, or that like we were going to get some sort of like. But it didn't even seem like there were other Fae kings, because Bryce became queen of the Valbaran Fae and the Avalon Fae, and then she was just queen of all Fae. And I was like, okay, but so then where's spring and summer and winter? Like I don't understand
Yeah, I don't know.
how he got that nickname. So that was a huge miss for me. But so was his lack of a redemption. That was a miss for me too, because she gave us so many teases. And I still really want to know what happened with Ember and how that shook down.
Didn't even Ember seem like a bit sad? Like she was processing the death of him and how it happened at the end too. I'm like, he couldn't have been all that bad. And he did say, like repeatedly, he loved Ember. I mean,
Yeah.
what a fucked up way of showing it, but
I got the sense that Ember was feeling that more for Bryce in the fact that she said it was technically Rune who killed their dad, but she still counted it as Bryce's kill. And so I got the sense that she was mourning that more for what it meant to Bryce killing her own father than what it meant for him being dead.
Yeah, I definitely had this like headcanon where like Ember was in love with Bryce's dad, and he loved her, and he was trying to protect her from like the darkness that was the Fae Court because she was just a human, and he was like doing all this stuff to protect her, and then he like made a mistake and accidentally hurt her when he like thought she was somebody else or something. Because I don't think we ever got like clarification on why, like if they were fighting or what. And then she ran because she had former trauma. Like all of this was in my head. And I was like, acting like it was fact. And then it wasn't fact. He turns out he was actually a shitty person. I'm like,
Well, he does mention that she doesn't know the whole story
yeah,
behind that scar.
but neither do we.
But he also mentions a lot of shit, so I don't know whether to take him at his word.
Well, and he like tortured the crap out of Rune when he was a
I
kid.
know.
And in my
That's
head, I
right.
was like, well, maybe like, you know, trying to do it for Rune's own good. And
Oh, Jess.
and that's where the red flags really show.
I got very Dorian's dad vibes.
Yeah,
off of
well,
that, too, because Dorian's dad did the same kind of shit to him.
you mean
but it was
Dorian
because he-
Senior?
Yeah.
Yes, because he wasn't himself, right? And
Yeah.
so I was like, oh, well, maybe we're going to get like something like that where like something more has infected him.
Like, or that he like did all these horrible things to like divert the Asteroid's attention or something,
Mhm.
anything. But no, it turns out that he and the King of Avalon were just greedy jerks, and they're willing to kill their own children for it. I didn't like that at all. It didn't sit well with me at all. But I guess Sarah can't give us redemptive father figures in every book she reads.
I'm like, what's going on, Sarah?
You need
The
to
moms
talk
hurt
to someone.
too. I mean,
Who
speaking
hurt
of
you?
like, I know parents too. It's like Nesta just like looking at Bryce's relationship with Ember and just loving it so much, and then Ember, you know, holding her hand and stuff like that.
And taking on Reese for her. I loved that part.
Not to mention Randall and Cassian, because we're talking about Nesta's relationship with her parents, but Cassian needed that just as much, you know? And so, like, it was just a big, beautiful scene.
Like it was mentioned that Reese and Randall also had like a coming
Overprotective
together moment.
Daddy moment, yeah.
So like I think all of the little bat boys needed
Yeah, they did.
a good daddy.
Yeah.
Just like Emil needed a good dad.
All of the characters in these series all needed some good daddies.
Yes.
Like,
And
These-
mom time. Like
fantasy books are created off of
I
bad
just-
parenting.
I need more Azrael because we only got a tiny little taste of what his relationship with his mom was like in a freaking bonus scene, and I'm gonna need more than that. SJ.
I'm
yeah,
telling you,
where
he's
just
the
like
next.
my mom was good.
Yeah,
Oh.
he's the next book. I'm telling you, like. She put in an interview one time. She was like, I feel like I made it obvious what the next book is about. And we were all like, no. We're still at war about who's going to end up with who, Sarah. We don't have any idea who you're
Like,
writing the next
war.
book about. I heard you call me out, Sandra, in the last. And I still stand by it. Azrael and Gwen forever.
I
but-
don't want them together, but I will accept it if this is true.
I'm with you, Jess. Like I want Az with Gwen.
Elaine has options, okay?
But Az needs himself a girl that can devote herself to him.
And can handle the darkness because Azrael won't. Azrael
Elaine
lives
is
in the
just too
darkness.
sweet.
Yeah.
Elaine just like is flowers and sunshine.
Oh, there's more going on to her than flowers and sunshine.
It's probably some fire too, because you know she belongs with the heir to the day court. Anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about.
Okay, so back in Avalon, like we have our group together. And they are team caves and team like library, right?
Yeah.
Like
Uh-huh.
Rune, Lydia, and
Declan and Finn.
Deck and Flynn. I'm gonna
Flynn,
call
you
him
said
Finn.
it's Flynn.
It's Flynn.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to call him Finn.
I also called him Finn just now, so you're in good company.
So they are in team library trying to find any kind of news about like anything that might help them with how to kill the Asteri, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
how the power works.
Star, sword, knife stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, the Starborn powers. And then Hunt and Therian, I think, who jumped ship to come with them because he didn't want to be with the Ocean Queen, right? And Sathia, who is now his wife, so Flynn's sister, and Bryce are all going team caves, right? And I loved the like, we should make shirts comment. And so they are going to see if they can find anything in the princess or the caves of the cave of princess
Yeah.
to help with her powers because she currently has 2 pieces of the
Yeah.
Thea's power that was divided into 3.
Yeah, she needs the last one.
And
Yep.
this is when Morven goes and fetches Einar, the Autumn King,
Yeah.
because he's like, this is weird that you're giving me his journal. Like, what did you do with him? And has to go, investigate. And then they
Yeah.
confront them all in the cave, along with the murder twins taking Declan and Flynn, because Lydia and Rune are just moon-eyed at each other.
Can we also take a minute and appreciate how throughout like the scenes from the ocean like ship all the way to Avalon, how Rune kept being like, Bryce and Lydia being in the same room is not going to be good for me. And Bryce was like, I think I like her.
Yes. I mean, they were kindred spirits.
They were.
Uh-huh.
They were
Like-
fast friends.
And so, like, as Sandra mentioned, Deck and Flynn have been kidnapped.
Yeah, and Rune's just
And
like,
Lydia and Rune, like, didn't notice. They're like, where are they?
they're like, of course,
like a
of
day
course
later.
they ditched us to do all of the work by ourselves.
And then a whole day went by and they're like, where are they?
We
And
should
so
check
then
on
they,
them.
like, yeah, so then they go to the cave where Rune then kills his dad and Bryce kills Morven, even though he'd, like, surrendered, basically.
Didn't she like decapitate him?
No, that's what
Or is that what-
happened to
I know Sigrid that happened because
Einar.
Ethan.
too, right? Like
Yeah.
they decapitate their
Okay,
dad.
maybe that was him. Yeah.
So Bryce with the King of Avalon was very reminiscent to me of Aelin with Archer. How she was like,
Oh, uh-huh.
I'm not going to kill you. And he was like, I surrendered. You're a good person. And she's like, no, actually, I'm not a good person. Nehemia was. And then she just kills him. It felt the same to me there.
Same energy.
Yeah.
Mhm. I'm glad that Cormac got a few mentions too, because I grew to love him so much and was sad for him in that final little talk with Rune in the last book.
I wanted him to come back to life so bad.
She can't bring everybody back to life.
I
Then there are
know,
no
but she
stakes.
keeps killing off my favorites. Okay?
I liked, this is weird. I liked Cormac dying, not because I didn't like him, because I did. I loved him, but I wanted him to be with Sophie. Like, they deserve
True,
that
okay.
peace and that rest.
Related note, I am glad that she didn't just automatically kill Baxian off because he was Danica's mate, and kept him around. Like, he'll have some purpose. Because I was feeling really bad for that guy.
I was feeling for him too, but that's why I was like, she never separates mates. So if Danica's dead, I think Baxian's gonna die so that he can be with her. Like Cormac could be with Sophie.
Yeah.
So I was surprised that she didn't do it. Not unpleasantly though, because as we said, he is Hunt's only friend. And Hunt needs a friend that aren't like Bryce's friends that he like hangs out with through association. So I did like that.
Yeah.
I'm like trying to look at our outline and see where we're at.
I know, it's all over the place. I was like, we're jumping POV so much. I'm like, I don't even know what the best way is to organize this.
Well, we're still in the caves with Bryce right now, where she uses the
Yeah, in the cave, so Morven and Einar die, and the murder twins, right?
Are murdered.
And then she gets the rest of her power, and so now she's fully charged Starfire. Woohoo! And then they start hatching a plan where, okay, Therian, you're going to go to the River Queen with your wife now to try and get her to take in refugees. Ethan, you're going to go with Hypaxia to work on the antidote because it comes out that the water is tainted by this parasite that has been muting all of their power and
and
stuff.
forcing him to take the drop. It was such a cool, like, way for her to kind of explain how they're the same creatures as TOG and Akatar, and yet that's why they needed the drop and like why all of this happened. And I was like, that is so cool, like so interesting. I really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Something big happens before she makes this plan, though, and that is that the Asteri attack the meadows.
Oh yeah,
And that is what drives her to tell Therian to go to the Queen to get people to safety, because if they're willing to do that, they're willing to attack anything.
Yeah, their phones come on and they see all the crap happening back in Volbara.
Yeah, because when she puts like the sword in the like the stone or whatever, like she gets that third piece of power, and it coming into her then makes Avalon like a little oasis.
Which this is that foreshadowing that SJM is so good at with like the first book, Bryce and Hunt in the Night Garden, and the flowers are like opening for Bryce. And then you have this literal like islands coming out of the ocean and it becoming a lush jungle and stuff. And I just love that whole scene. The Pegasuses coming back. I'm like, they mentioned, like, did this affect Prithian? Did the prison island come back to life?
They said that she did wonder if the prison got the same thing. So,
but that would be a shit show for them because that means all those monsters are loose if the same thing happens.
Who are you gonna call? Bryce.
Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters.
Like,
ooh, Ghostbuster Bryce.
You're like, you did this, bitch. Come back and
Fix it.
Fix it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think again, all my theories about this book were wrong. So I'm not gonna sit here and be like, this is definitely what she's doing. But I think I could see Sarah doing like a prologue in Asriel's book where we see his reaction to Bryce coming through the mist and like doing all of this like stuff, and him, you know, getting to learn about Bryce and all of those things, and then Bryce taking Truth Teller, and then we flip to like, you know, 6 months later or however long. I guess all this happened within the span of like a week, I guess.
Yeah, it was crazy.
But like, if it fast forwards in time to him getting Truth Teller back, and then the prison disappearing, and like that being Asriel's whole arc of like him and the Valkyries, because I think Nesta is going to be pretty big in the next book too, based off of everything that happened. Like,
what if Az's mate is in the prison?
That sounds so unhinged. I'm just like, oh, please. I don't know.
but I just, we've heard people like the whisperings of the stone, and we now know that it's the people who got stuck when Thea closed the thing. So was it Thea? Maybe it was her daughters closing the thing. Celine closing the thing. So I think that there's going to be a lot of them trying to like rescue those people. Like, I could see her making an entire book about that and about Az and the Dusk Court, and because they made so many Dusk references in this book that it has to come back. Like, we have to have that happen somehow. So I'm really excited, guys.
Also, like, I have another unhinged like theory, and it's not book related, but it's Sarah J. Maas related.
Sure.
Like, with all of these theories that everybody like throws out and like things, I would find it comical if she would just like sort through the theories and be like, yeah, I like that one. Let's write that. And she doesn't have like a game plan, but she's using like everybody else's theories to like guide the books.
I've often wondered that about some authors. I think SJM specifically in an interview was like, no, I stay off social media. I don't want it influencing like how I write the characters. So
that would just make the writing so much easier, in my opinion.
Just like catering to the fan base.
Ideas.
Like, you don't understand how deep some people have gone with the theories.
Yeah, they have like full-blown like poster charts of like all of the sticky notes, and it's like that guy in that meme where he like looks crazy, just like pointing and stuff. I don't think Sarah looks at her theories because I do think she minimizes her social media presence for that reason. Like, she does not want anyone influencing her writing. But there are definite authors, and I'm not going to name names, but there are definite authors where I'm like, you 100%.
Stole that idea.
Yeah, because they're like in the groups and they're like commenting and interacting with fans, which is cool, except that it like kind of makes me
It just
feel like,
cheapens it a bit.
yeah,
Right?
like they go off of what the popular vote is, and that's how the story like goes. And I'm like, this isn't
It's like a build your own adventure.
Yeah, I was like, this isn't choose your own adventure. Okay, I want the story how it was created organically. So
I'm with you. Yeah, I was surprised to see SJM as active as she was on social media for this release, like going into bookshops, doing signings, all of that stuff. I was like, wow, she is active on here. Loved her interview.
Yeah, it was super cute how she like popped up at midnight release parties and stuff to surprise fans.
Of course, with Josh.
Yeah, well.
Mr. Mass.
The real Papa Mass.
Yeah, so she's supercharged now.
Yeah.
Plan is hatched.
So then we go into part 3, which is the ascent, and we get Bryce and Hunt back together.
And they put the asteroid on blast.
Yes. Yes. And Micah's death and how it really happened. I just hope that they showed the vacuum scene. Like,
you know, Deck did. You know, Deck inserted it. It was like a montage kind of thing, and he like just shows her just casually vacuuming up at the end, and like he puts like an arrow and is like, "This is Micah," to like the dust on the ground.
I also want to know what song he played over it. Like I'm so excited, or like another one bites the dust or something. Like, what song? What was the like soundtrack to the vacuuming up of Micah? Not necessarily a theme song for Bryce, but the vacuuming up of Micah.
I mean, I have some ideas.
I like Another One Bites the Dust.
It just doesn't. Another One Bites the Dust would be good if it was like remixed, but I feel like it has to be some like really heavy R&B like.
Oh, yeah, her dancing in a club. Like, it has to be something like.
Oh, I was thinking like
hip-hop.
Some 80s music. Some like very excited 80s music, you know, like.
I'm like getting on Spotify right now to get some inspiration.
Tara, I was right about Hunt being some kind of like weird, not having like a true father thing. Like, it ended up following that Final Fantasy VII storyline with Sephiroth and having a scientist and test tube stuff.
I was not a fan of that.
You weren't a fan of it?
No, I wanted him to have a dad, and I wanted him to have that father-son moment of like, I'm proud of you, son.
He gets one, you know, adjacently.
Sort of.
Yeah, because Apollyon does say, "I'm proud of you."
Did he say that?
Kind of. Well, in a
Ada said
roundabout,
Ada said that on
in
behalf
a roundabout way.
Yeah.
Like he does before he steps into like back into hell.
I mean, he can say he's a son of hell. That's cool.
He does have a dad. Like, the scientist is his like biological father. I don't even know like how you.
He was good. Hyrius.
Yeah.
The random unnamed scientist guy that we'd never heard
No,
of
he
before.
has a name.
Hyrius.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a name.
Yeah, but not a name with any
But-
significance.
But it was sad that essentially Hunt was bred to be a backup battery for Bryce. Like,
Yeah.
hi, your purpose in life is to be a battery charger for this.
And he wasn't the first one.
No.
Like, there's been a long line of test tube babies.
It was sad because he goes through the series feeling less than and not like a person. And then
Like a
to
fool.
have that kind of validated that he was literally created, that was sad for him. So I could understand why he struggles with his identity toward the end.
I don't know, because like he was created for the person who ended up being his mate. And so like in mate, like bond, like they're all created to be that other half for their mate, right?
That's such a happy way to look at it.
And so he asks, like, was it in our DNA? Like, did you do it to where we're mates? And they were like, no, that's just what you ended up being, you know? And so I kind of like, you were made for her in more than one way.
See, that's why I feel like Hunt needs to meet Cassian too, because I feel like Cassie would be like, bro, I get it. You know, like,
Yes.
I also was meant to be nothing, and through the grace of the gods was gifted this life and this mate and this like power, and I have no like Cassian and Azriel and Hunt like are the real bat boys. You know, like I don't know. I have a lot of feelings about it, and I can't put them all into
I
words.
get it. Yeah. No, I get it. I think those feelings are warranted.
Our group then goes to the Northern Rift, where everybody, except for Bryce and Hunt, think that they are going to meet the Princess of Hell, right? And Bryce opens up the portal to
Nesta.
Akatar and Nesta and shoves her mom and dad in the portal.
No, she has
And it's
Hunt
like, yes.
wind
Yeah.
blast them through.
Yeah, and she's like, take care of them, please. Can I also have the mask?
I was such a sweet. I'm so glad. Like, I'm so glad Nesta was the Prithian center, because like it would have been so easy for it to been Feyre. And I know like the fandom is like, I want more Feyre and Rhys Hands, but like
I'm done. I'm done
your
with your
guys'
story. I'm
your
like,
guys' faces said it all. Like it was just sweet to see Azriel be like, Nesta, remember, like when she had the mask on and he was bringing her back, he like
They come
said
back.
Cassian and Emery and Gwyn, and then he ended it with Nyx, and like that brought her back, and like Bryce immediately saw that and was like, through love all is possible. So it was so beautiful that Nesta got to be this symbol of
Mhm.
love for Bryce, and like Nesta and Bryce created this bond that like was borderline sisterly, even though they were like outsmarting each other the whole time. Like you got to see Bryce through the book be like, I wonder what Nesta would think of this. I wonder how Nesta would react to this. Like when Nesta said this, it really stuck with me, kind of stuff where I was just like, yes, like that is why, which is so funny. Like, so I was enjoying it, but I also was thinking about how I accidentally triggered a girl at the Barnes & Noble midnight release by telling her that Court of Silver Flames was kind of just Walt Disney's Hercules. And she got really upset at me because she loves Hercules, and she was like telling me how much she hates Nesta. And I was like, well,
you should
Are
probably
we
look in the
just-
mirror
are-
there.
Are we saying that Meg is Nesta?
yeah.
in
I
this
was
theory?
like, I won't say I'm in love with Nesta's theme song. And like everyone around us was like, she's got you there. And the girl was like, no, I don't accept that. I was like, I'm not going to keep going then, because I don't want to fight you in the Barnes & Noble. Like, I don't think
No.
she was like real mad, but it was just kind of funny. So I was
I
like,
love that movie too, and I like that.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you. Just like I'm so glad that Nesta was the focus from the Akatar people, and
I'm really glad Reese got his ass handed to him in like multiple ways. Like I'm glad that Ember's like, well, if you didn't want me involved, then maybe take it somewhere private. You know, like stop yelling at people.
I'm glad the recent Feyre story ended, and that it's kind of like I started kind of getting these feelings too between Bryce and Hunt. Like when they started talking about babies in like the bonus stuff, or maybe it was the end of the book. It might have been the bonus stuff. I'm like,
I'm going to the end.
okay, I love my kid, but when you mention babies, I'm gonna walk away now and go follow some other characters because
It's hard
You're
to
old.
it's hard to be an adventurer while you have a child.
yeah.
I don't know. Lydia's doing it.
Well,
I mean, but
Lydia had to pay a
She gave
really
them up
steep
it.
price.
Yeah.
a year
She
and a
can't
half
be the
old.
mother.
Yeah, I just
So.
feel so bad for her.
Bryce now has the mask that she can use to
Animate.
reanimate the dead.
Invigoron, a business opportunity as rare as the Avani berries themselves.
What's happening?
I did like that. I thought that was a clever way of like leveraging.
And then we see that the antidote does get made by Hypaxia, and Ethan is the first one to take it. Well, Hypaxia really is, I guess. And then Ethan is the second guinea pig and he gets super, super powerful.
And yeah, and he gets ice power, which was so fun because in Throne of Glass, everyone has like an element and an animal. So it's super cool to see how like the water contamination was muting their powers and an entire like half of their self. It was so intense.
the Prime had hinted that we aren't who we're supposed to be.
Mhm.
True wolves. Mhm. He got done so dirty. Like Sabine,
Prime?
how she killed him.
Yeah.
I was sad for the old guy. That made me sad.
I found that scene both sad but also like yes, because I thought it was very, very comical and very rewarding when Sabine is like, well, I made this Sigrid like my heir and like completely cut Emil or not Emil. Emily.
Amelie.
And Amelie.
Amelie, whatever, however you say her name, Amelie, out of it. And it's like, haha, bitch. Like, that's what you get. And then the Prime comes in and he's like, actually, I'm naming him my heir. So cut Sabine right out of it. I was like, haha, bitch.
I feel like the wolves thing is still a little unresolved too at the end of this because you had like all of the wolves disappearing and
Mhm.
Perry was just like, well, I stick around to like tell you what happened.
Yeah, she was like, you're gonna have to give him some time. When Sabine revealed Sigrid being now, it's like this bitch. Like, no. Like, it's not enough that you did all of this to Ethan. Now you're gonna make it even worse. Like, mm-mm. So I was sad about the Prime, but everything else about that scene filled me with satisfaction.
I loved that Ethan got to use his new powers of ice to like
Mhm.
freeze the Underking to where Hypaxia could kill him, and then she became like the head of the house.
That was
then.
cool. I mean, this was very much like the end of Throne of Glass when everyone is being installed as a leader of their respective area and stuff. Like, oh, Ethan is the prime of the wolves now, and Hypaxia is the head of the Bone Quarter, and like all of the friends were just like, I lead
And then
something.
we go back to war with
Yeah.
everybody being installed as the head of their house.
Yeah, so like that was kind of a little twist at the end that SJM threw in there was like, okay, you can go ahead and destroy the First Light Core, but it's a kill switch for the entire fucking planet. So like good luck with that.
Yeah.
And so Connor giving the bullet for the Godslayer gun. And then Bryce having to make that choice of like, what do I do with this one bullet? I'm facing all of these Asteri right here in the Crystal Palace, and I have the First Light Core right there. But she's like, I would never be able to think this quickly on my feet. And Bryce is just like hatching a plan, like, okay, I'm going to create this little, portal to nowhere black hole thing, and then just improvise.
Let it suck me in.
Yeah.
No big deal.
Yeah.
And then you see Rune and Lydia going to save her sons, and that's where we find out like who she actually is, right? That she is the descendant.
But yeah, because she reveals that her son's name is Brannon,
Mhm.
and it's the name she picked from a long lost descent, like the ancestor that she's long descended from. That was like this super legendary tale from like before they were even in this world or whatever. And I was like,
Mhm.
what?
Mhm.
Yep. And then this is where, as you guys say, Bryce kind of dies. She's sucked into this hole and like doesn't have oxygen for a little while, right? And kind of.
No.
She's in space. There's none.
I think it's pretty clear that Bryce dies here. Like
It doesn't say
Kind
it
of.
word for word on page, like, I am dead in
I think
space.
she was as dead as
But-
Rhysand.
So
But
anyway,
again, through the whole thing, I was like, she's pulling a Rhysand, and Bryce isn't gonna really die, and I don't feel it, So
there will be a way back for her.
Mhm.
But she's like stuck in space, like with no oxygen, and she's like kicking the Steri into her little like black hole, right? And previously, so we had like the minions of hell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had like all of the people that could be spared from anybody's armies and whatever. And then we also had the fallen that
Mhm.
she had reanimated their spirits and stuck them into the mech suits, right? And they were also fighting with them. And it was through that Hunt was able to use one of the mech suits and get in to save Bryce, or to at least pull her body out of this black hole, right? And it was Shahar's spirit that was working the mech suit.
that installed a little bit of respect back for me for Shahar because I started hating her in the last book on a reread because I was like, oh, she was so single-mindedly using Hunt and just all
Mhm.
about, her power and the rebellion and stuff. And so that gave me a little bit back for her.
Well, and it made
She helped.
I was definitely questioning. I was like, does she even really care about Hunt, or was she just like using him the whole time? Like, it
Yeah.
didn't feel like they were actually in a relationship. It felt like she was like, I can use his like naivete almost to
Mhm.
like manipulate him into doing what I want by like showing him affection. And so
Mhm.
that really got to me. But I think with this last scene of Shahar's, you were like, no, she does. She cares about him. You
Hunt
know?
deserved that love. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Poor guy.
And so she's back out. She's not breathing. She has lost oxygen, right? And Jessica gives her life for her. And that
Wow.
is basically where the war ends.
While Jessica's like giving her life for Bryce, she like has this conversation with her, but Bryce is like looking out at this like afterworld, this actual afterworld, not the bone quarter, but the real
Mm-hmm.
afterlife, and she gets to see the meadow again. Like, I don't know if it's the exact same meadow, but it felt very reminiscent of like, no, this is actually where they're going, and it was the right place the whole time. They're happy. Like, and like she gets to see Danica, and Danica's there because at the end of book one, it makes it seem like Danica's like essence just
Yeah.
disappears.
Disappeared.
But it wasn't her essence, it was her magic that she gave to Bryce. And that like it's just so
And-
good.
And Lee
And
Hava,
she sees
too.
Lahaba. Yes.
That made my heart so happy.
And then Bryce goes and returns the mask to Nesta. And Nesta's like, you're really bringing it back? And she's like, I told you I would. Like, did you
Reese
not?
was so mad. He was super mad.
Yeah, well, Reese can go away.
Suck it.
Yeah.
I just love how everyone perceived him in this book. Like, yes, that is the real Rhysand right there.
And then the Pegasuses come back.
Oh, yes.
Poor little Baxian is beside himself. He's like, there are things growing out of the earth.
Please help. I was glad to see that. It reminded me of like the Mario movie. I don't know if you've seen like the very end post credits. Oh, okay. There's a little Easter egg post credits there.
Are they Pegasuses?
No, it's an egg for someone that didn't appear in the movie that I was like
Yoshi?
yeah.
Oh, Yoshi's not in the movie?
No.
Yoshi's
Bummer.
the only one that hatches out of an egg.
well, I don't know. Maybe some Koopas. I don't know. Anyway, you did not finish all of the bonus scenes, right, Tara?
I
Like-
did not finish the Danica and Bryce one yet. I am like
Okay.
4 pages short of finishing that chapter.
What about you, Jess? Did you read them all?
I was reading them when we started, but you can spoil them for me. It's okay.
The Danica Bryce one was probably, if I had to rank, right, all 5, that one is probably the bottom one. I'm like, we
Yeah.
literally gleaned nothing new from this scene. We saw it happen, but we already heard secondhand from everybody around this situation what happened that night. So
Yeah.
it was a
Yeah.
pointless scene to me.
Well, you can't even like I wasn't even like excited. I was like, because Connor was on screen and I wanted to be excited, but you knew nothing happened with him and Bryce because nothing happened with him and Bryce and like all of this stuff. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, I was definitely I did read that one and I was a little disappointed. I was
I
like,
think that one was my number 5 too.
Yeah. My top one though was Lydia and Rune. Like that's the one
Mhm.
that made me cry. I was like, this makes me happy. They are so happy. They are so cute together. I love that her sons are at the wedding.
And they're actually being nice to her.
And she
now
proposed to
because,
him.
So I was reading that, and Carly was sitting next to me, and I was so giddy with everything in that chapter that she kept looking at me. I'm like, there's a wedding. She's just like,
SJM is letting us
okay,
see an actual
crazy.
wedding. Mhm.
I mean,
So Carly thought I was crazy because I was super excited about like the wedding.
technically we did see a wedding, just not
It
to
just
come
was
to
when
Yes.
Caitlin and
just
I-
not to
that was an almost
completion.
wedding, but Nesta's biscuit wedding ceremony thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was like We can have an elaborate ceremony. And Cassian was like, I don't want to do that. And she was like, fine, here.
Here's your biscuit. And then I think my number 2 was the Randall and Ember
So
chapter.
that's the one I was finishing up as I hopped on.
Ooh.
So
And that's because like I loved the like Nesta getting a good mom. Like,
Yeah.
I loved seeing
I was
Ember just
torn.
like tear into like Reese and like be that like fiery mom that she is to Bryce, but
Yeah.
to Nesta.
So, speaking of that bonus chapter, Nesta said something that I find interesting when she basically tells Rhysand that he's not the boss of her and she is not one of his subjects.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, since when are you not
That
one
is-
of his subjects, Nesta Archeron? Please tell me more. Because she was one of his subjects. She like was sworn into the Night Court or whatever. Like I guess not like formally, but while she was getting Valkyrie training and stuff, she was part of the Night Court. She was there. She's like their emissary to the Human Lance or whatever.
Mhm.
So she
That was
technically had the
interesting
role
language
at court.
there.
So what's going on?
Sandra, which one was your second? Because I bet it's my third.
Yeah, I was torn. Honestly, you could flip flop 2 and 3. Bryce and Hunt's little holiday one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I loved it. The Jelly Jubilee, pristine condition, and all of that. I loved it.
I also loved that she gave him one of the little like lettuce
Creepy
babies,
ass
like with his Umber Mortis, or not his Umber Mortis, but his backwards baseball cap. That cracked me up too. And then I think my 4th was like the bonding over the music.
Yeah, that was 4th for me as well. Bryce, Nesta, and Az.
Like I liked that they bonded, but like it didn't really stick.
It just had me wanting to, like, craving more about Az. Like, that's all it did. Anything Az.
Yeah.
Like, that's the edition I pre-ordered. I was like, oh, Bryce, Nesta, Azrael? Like, oh, yeah. And then we got, like, nothing. We got nothing.
Yeah. Well, and it didn't stick. So like even the bonding that they did do and what we did
No,
get, like
Bryce backstabbed them anyway, like tricked them.
right, yeah, like and now
Well-
they're all still mad at each other.
To be fair, they were trying to trick her too. It was all a bunch
Yeah.
of tricking.
It was a battle of wits, and Bryce won.
Yeah.
Which is why I think
Aw.
Nesta gave her the mask. Nesta was like, "You're cool, we're friends." Like, you know, like I don't think Nesta was
We-
really hurt by it.
Well, and Nesta, like she mentioned like what happened to the meadows and the humans. And I think Nesta is still very much in her human phase. Like where she likes being a high fae now, like she is still very much tied to her humanness.
yeah,
And so when she mentioned that the humans were the ones suffering the most, like she's like, okay, like somebody's got to help them.
I need that cozy book where it's just all 3 people from all the worlds, just day to day, living their lives, being goofy and having fun, and some before shit hits the fan or something like that, or after. I don't care when we get it. I'm ready for a book.
somebody could even write the fanfic and like send it to us.
Yes. Like in a perfect world, what would happen between these characters?
I do wonder, like, what Bryce's reaction is going to be to meeting, like, Lucian. Like, is he going to look kind of like her father? And maybe somewhere along the lines during the crossover, something with Autumn Court, happened with Dusk. Like, who knows?
Somebody might be like, "Hey, it's been a while since we've seen Eris. What happened to him?" And secretly, it's because he's dead. 'Cause he was Bryce's dad.
Your unhinged theory.
It's so unhinged. Like,
Or there's another like missing Hellion baby, and it's the Autumn King, right? Because he gets around, right? Like you never know
his
who he's
intergalactic booty
impregnated.
calls.
Maybe he got around to another planet
You know,
and
maybe.
I mean, we will
spread
see.
his seed far and wide.
Ugh. Mm. Come on now. I don't need that imagery.
And now it's weird.
I do wonder though if Awakening Dusk Court or whatever you want to call it in Midgard translated over to Prithian, because like in the bonus chapters that obviously happen after all of the events, like we do have a scene with Nesta and they're it's not like they're acting like everything's on fire and they have to go save all these, take all these monsters and stuff and re-imprison them or kill them and stuff like that. So I do wonder, but like something has to happen with this. So we'll see.
It's possible that it's like a delayed reaction and
It could be.
The Dust Court slowly reemerges or something.
Or maybe Bryce needs to go visit and then it like just happens or something is triggered. Who knows?
Or maybe the swords have to be like her handing back the swords into the.
I was gonna say, I feel like she gave Nesta
and
she gave them both, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So maybe it has to do with like the Starborn. Something Starborn needs to be on the planet.
I mean, I'm down for that. And we still haven't seen what First Light, dwindling out in Midgard is going to happen if it sends them back into Akatar ages or what. It's so weird to me to wrap my head around. Okay, obviously there's people that can wield lightning like Hunt and electricity. Why haven't they figured out how to use electricity for this when they've figured out how to use First Light?
They didn't need to at the time because they had First Light.
Well, and Hunt's the first one to be able to do electricity, right?
Yeah, he's the first one who could do lightning because lightning is so rare. And like lightning was unheard of around angels and they killed all the Thunderbirds. But the Ocean Queen had non-First Light technology. So leading into the Ocean Queen's gonna be the big bad of next book. They're gonna go to her and ask her for her technology. She's gonna try and seize power and they're gonna have to stop her.
Ooh, that would be a good reason, like a little catalyst there. There was too much attention drawn to her technology advancements.
Her little Octonauts.
They were all like, how are you doing this without First Light? She's like, ancient secrets.
Not sharing. Well, we bounced all over the place in true fashion. Chaotic and loving it. Is there anything, like any other scenes or quotes or anything last mentions?
I'm sure there is, but I can't think of anything that I want to say.
Yeah, when we're like, oh, we're just going to cover both parts, both halves of the book in this one episode.
Sandra.
Something is going to be forgotten, but it's fine. It's fine. We can always do a follow-up episode. Maybe like a theory one when we're waiting 2 years to get the next book. So, yay.
Maybe when Sarah reveals what the next book is going to be about.
Or a cover.
It's going to be about Elaine and Azrael.
I almost don't want to know. Like, I almost want to not read the description and to just go into the next book, like, with no knowledge of, like, who it's about. Because she will probably say, like, it's about Azrael and Elaine in the summary. Or it's about Azrael and Gwen in the summary or something. And I don't want that to die yet. Like, I kind of want
Jess,
to, like, experience it,
I avoid synopses anyways. Like, if I had read the synopsis, I wouldn't have been shocked and so upset by chapter 5 in Crescent City 1. Like, it says all of that in the freaking synopsis. I'm like, I want to feel all of the ups and downs, please.
Yeah.
And obviously I didn't either because I thought that they were going to have sex in chapter 5. So.
I mean, oh well.
I just feel like I am worried that because this will be the first time that Sarah releases an ACOTAR book since I got really into the series because Nesta and Cassian is the reason I read the series. But I am worried that she's gonna post about it on her Instagram and people are gonna be like, it's Az and Gwen's book or it's Az and Elaine's book, and I'm gonna be like, great, now I know.
Yeah, I don't want to be influenced by any of that. I'm with you.
We'll see what happens. Though.
But I mean, it's obvious who the next book is going to be about, says Queen SJM.
Yeah. But she was just like, I feel like I made it clear, and we're all like, you didn't.
No.
We're all too unhinged for that.
I feel like with this book, she did answer a lot of the questions that we've had with all of these little Easter eggs being sprinkled across worlds and stuff, but there is still a wealth of questions that I have about things. So we'll need that closure in the next book, maybe. So we'll see. Anywho, well, if we have no further comments or favorite little things to bring up, then thank you for tuning in to House of Flame and Shadow by Sarah J. Maas. And hopefully it won't be 2 years when we convene again to talk about Massverse. We'll see. Jess, thank you so much for being with us to talk about it. It's always a pleasure. I would have you on all of these too. It's so fun.
I'm just
even if you hate my Dorian take.
I'm just like slowly becoming like an adjacent story darling, just like
You are a story darling. She's like the third story darling.
so.
Sorry, David. David's like David's substitute
He's
darling
he's
number
the story
3.
stud, as he wants to
Oh,
call
there you
himself.
go. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
My husband was like, "We're gonna make a podcast and call it Story Studs." So I'm like, "Okay, you work on that, and we'll see."
He's too busy making hours.
Yeah.
Shout out to Kyle for
Shout
all
out
of his
Kyle.
editing.
Mm-hmm. His patience. Anywho, Jess, how can people find you on social media? Because you
Oh.
talk all things Buffy over on Jim Was Cancelled.
I do have a podcast about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Tara inserted Buffy into this discussion, but I
You're
do
welcome.
it. Yeah, thank you. I do it almost all the time over at Jim Was Cancelled, a Buffy podcast, where me and my co-host Josh talk about each episode individually. He has never seen the show before, and I've seen it more times than I can count. So we just are going through that. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Our handle is Jim Cancel Pod.
We'll link it in the notes.
Yeah. Or you can find, if you don't like Buffy, which, you know, is weird, but that's on you. You can find me on Instagram at tiaras.and.books, where I do all of my bookish talk. So,
I love Jess's account. It's such a happy place. Good vibes. Romanticy lovers, welcome there too. Thank you so much, Jess. So much fun. Tara, you awake?
I
She's
am.
like, it's bedtime. Peace out.
It is
all right.
bedtime.
We will see you soon. I guess I have to plug the book club. So we have over 70 of you guys on Amazon Book Club now. There have been a number of books that have been pitched for us to read next. So I guess next step is we'll do a little vote across social media to see what book we read. It's going to be a standalone book probably. And then we'll do an episode on that and some fun stuff. So stay tuned for that.
when you're ready for a series again, I have one that I think Tara will really, really like. So,
Oh, what is it?
it's the first one. I think is like a touch of Malice or a touch of darkness. It's Hades and Persephone's.
Oh,
Oh, I've
romance.
heard of this one. I think.
Mm-hmm. There's dual POV. So one book is her Persephone's, and then the other one is Hades, and there's like a bunch of them. And I haven't finished the series, but just based off of my watchings of Lucifer, I'm like, Tara would dig this.
Damn it. We still have to cover Lucifer. And now it's my turn to watch all of the episodes. So you can join us on that too, Jess.
I mean, I'll join you for whatever you let me join you for. Okay, you like we're
Jess is
covering
going to be on Lucifer.
we're covering Fourth Wing. I'm like, well, I'll just listen to that one, even though I want to join all of them forever.
did you like Lucifer? Like, I know last we talked, you were on like, I don't know, episode 5 or something.
I'm on so last time I was on the podcast, I had just started season 1. I'm now on season 3. I had to take like a month off for like Christmas and all that stuff. Families, whatever.
Watching Lucifer during Christmas really does like feel wrong, right?
I am at the tail end of season 3, and I am kind of struggling with it at the moment.
Okay,
I'm waiting for the bow scene that you promised me that I thought you
I
said
think
happened
that's
in
in
season 3.
5,
Okay, it looks like
maybe 4.
season 3 is not doing it for me. Lucifer is annoying me with his like wishy-washy attitude. I can't talk about it in all details because Sandra's here, but like
I'm still halfway through season 2.
Okay, so it does start dwindling. I can't remember what season it is. It does start dwindling. And I even like stopped watching it for a little while. And then Netflix brought it back. And I think it's the last 2 seasons.
kind of. Well, I'm just saying, like they've got Superman from Smallville in the show now, and
Oh yeah.
so you know
I know what season you're on now.
some
That
stuff
one did.
happening. But
That one did like
it's just taking a while. But I was really into it for a while, and I'm getting back into it now.
If it helps, I will watch some. and we could talk about it, Jess.
Yeah. We're going to have thoughts, Sandra. So,
5 hours later.
Anyways, now that we've got there's more Lucifer talk, isn't there?
No, this isn't actually Lucifer. This is a follow-up to my last episode, Sandra, because if you'll remember, we were like, what's Rhysand's last name? And we said we were going to say a theory because Tara hadn't read Crescent City yet. And Tara was bummed out that she didn't get to know. So Tara, our theory is that his last name is Dannon.
Because how absurd does that sound?
Rhysand Dannon.
Rhysand
I'm
Dannon.
sorry.
I still think it's probably Darling, but
Or maybe it's
It makes-
Starling.
yeah.
Starborn.
Maybe he doesn't have a last name. It's like Sunny or it's like Cher.
That's something I wanted an answer to. Maybe we'll get that next book.
I bet we'll get it in Avatar 6. Like,
Well, do we know like Az's last name or Cassian's last name?
we
Like,
do know Cassian's. I
we
think
know
they
Cassian's.
gave Cassian's in his book.
What is his last name?
I don't remember.
I don't remember. what
I
they
know.
So we don't actually know it.
I'll tell you what it is. I'll Google it right now.
give it. Thank you. It sounds very like
Cassian.
it sounds like it goes with Cassian.
Well, I would hope.
But
'cause why would
Azrael,
you
I
name
don't
your
know.
kid?
I don't know. Why would you name your kid Rhysand Dannon?
Maybe in the Fae world, that sounds cool.
Oh, I did have
Because they
that
do
theory.
speak a different language. So, like, maybe.
Yeah. Okay, so we mentioned this name theory, but there was also the life bargain that Rhysand and Feyre struck because they made a bargain together to leave the world together. And we're like, why are you so dumb? You have a kid now. Why would you make this promise to like die when the other one does? But it's leave the world. So if they go to Midgard, then that breaks
They
them
both have to
of
go?
that. So that has to be like a theory that happens.
I
Sorry.
guess we were wrong, Sandra. Cassian
No,
apparently
they-
doesn't get a last name in the book.
That can't be right. Google correctly, Jess.
I'm sorry.
Ouch, Sandra. Jeez.
my Jezebel's coming out.
If you know,
It's impossible to find a good assistant.
this is what I do on our podcast. If you know Cassian's last name, please send us a message and tell us what it is.
If we just completely fucked up any of this, please correct us and call us out. Anyways, it's been a pleasure. It's late. I'm going to free you guys and we will look up.
We are no longer slaves, Jesse.
Woo!
Yeah.
We get the C
Civitas.
on our wrists.
Our friends are with us and we are not afraid.
I do
Aw,
like
you
that.
Just ruined it.
No, I do
I
like how
say
that's
it.
come through, though, full circle from Sam Cortland teaching it to Selena. That makes my heart happy, too. So,
Well, now I'm sad though.
I know.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
they got a happy ending. Like, CC3 very much felt like a conclusion story.
Mhm.
And so
It-
anything else is just going to be a spinoff.
It was a conclusion minus like some little threads, like because we still need Ariadne, we still need Tharian and his wife,
Fury.
we still need Fury, we still need the Ocean Queen's threat to Lydia. So there's little things, but
Mhm.
Bryce and Hunt are done, and you can kind of feel that, which is nice, and I'm happy for them, and I hope that they enjoy their Pegasus.
Pegasuses. Those are their
Pegasi.
babies. They're going to have their hands full.
Yeah,
Their
So,
little jelly jubilees.
yeah.
okay, bitches, it's been over 2
Oh.
hours. We're getting.
So one more thing, because I love.
God damn it. Okay.
So Tharian's like little comment about the little otter. Sorry, it's the
Oh, yeah.
Pegasus. The
When
he's like, don't make that face, or they will.
they'll
just
be
get
even
cuter."
cuter if you just keep making them cuter if you give them that attention. Yes.
I love that. Okay,
That was
now
a
I'm
cute
done.
part.
I loved that. That's my last comment that I loved. Because
Love you both.
Bye.
All right. We will see you next time. Whoops. All right. Bye.
Bye.